Chapter 2634. Mr. Ning, this is the land of the Ji family, St. Ji City. Ji Yunfei and Ning Qi were walking in a bustling city. She introduced the Ji family's status to Ning Qi as they walked towards the Ji family. The commonly seen immortals in Holy Ji City were only human immortals. Existences similar to Earth immortals were considered rare. According to Ji Yunfei's words, planet Nanyue had such a division. Human immortals were considered normal elites of planet Nanyue because the mortals on planet Nanyue and cultivators below human immortal because the mortals and cultivators below human immortal level on planet Nan, you were at most more than 99% of the population. Earth immortals and above were considered top-notch experts, and were usually the mainstay of a sect. Once they reached the heaven immortal realm, they would be considered as super experts. Many of the sect leaders were only at this level. Even in the Yunrua sect or the Ji family, the number of heaven immortal experts they had wouldn't exceed the fingers on one hand. Only the strongest sect, the Southern Mountains sect, had a zenith heaven golden immortal, old ancestor Southern Mountains. Experts could be found everywhere inside. There were more than 30 super-tier heaven immortals and 5 peerless gold immortals. I heard that the Southern Mountains sect recently had a guest. He was from the ancestral planet and is an early-stage golden immortal. This way, the Southern Mountains sect's strength has increased a lot. Ji Yunfei looked a little envious. From the ancestral planet? What a coincidence! Ning Qi smiled. Soon, the two of them arrived at the residence of the Ji family. It was like a palace in a mortal country. In front of the gate, which was 15 feet high, there were 2 teams of disciples of the Ji family, who were led by earthly immortals. They were glancing at the passers-by on the street with arrogant and cold eyes. The passers-by were also looking at the Ji family with a trace of envy and yearning. Meanwhile, those 2 earthly immortal realm commanders noticed Ji Yunfei and Ning Qi, and their gazes merely swept past Ning Qi before descending onto Ji Yunfei. Their eyes revealed pleasant surprise as they took a step forward and bowed respectfully. "Eldest young miss, dispense with the formalities." Ji Yunfei smiled. "There has been no news from young lady for more than a decade. Master and Madam are extremely worried." Who is this?" One of the earthly immortal realm commanders had only spoken halfway when he silently sized up Ning Qi, and then he asked Ji Yunfei. The other Earth immortal leader and the human immortal level Ji family disciples they brought were all shocked. Ji Yunfei was extremely famous on planet Southern Mountains. Even within the Southern Mountains sect, many people admired Ji Yunfei's beauty and talent. They often found excuses to visit the Ji family, but Ji Yunfei was never polite. They didn't expect that after disappearing for more than a decade, she would come back with a man. "This is my guest, open the door quickly." Ji Yunfei frowned. "Yunfei." The two didn't dare to ask any more questions and quickly opened the door. After Ji Yunfei and Ning Qi walked in, they looked at each other and one of them whispered, "I have a bit of diarrhea. You stay here and keep an eye on me. I'll be right back." As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and left. Judging from the direction he was going, he was probably heading towards the Yunrua sect. Because of Ji Yunfei's return, the Ji family instantly became very lively. At the same time, because they knew that Ji Yunfei brought a man back to the Ji family, the elders of the various houses all moved out, wanting to see who that man was. Many Ji family disciples knew about this, and their faces instantly revealed expressions of anger. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 10. They all wanted to see which sect's disciple dared to pester Ji Yunfei, and even followed her all the way to the Ji clan. "Young Master Ning, you really can't reveal your identity?" Ji Yunfei asked in a low voice as she led Ning Qi to the reception hall. "I can't." Ning Qi smiled. Right now, Jiang Yu and Jian Shilai were most likely on planet South Peak. Ning Qi did not want to reveal his identity in case things changed. "Then how should I introduce you?" Ji Yunfei felt somewhat helpless. Let's say Wu Yin of the Mystic Sword Sect. Ningqi laughed. When he returned to the central continent this time, he didn't find Wu Yin. Based on his understanding of Wu Yin, he wouldn't have died so easily. It was very likely that he had left the central continent. All right, Ji Yunfei nodded. Ji Clan's reception hall. Other than the patriarch of the Ji Clan, Ji Yunfei's father, Ji Tianyun, and her mother, Kong Wenyue, the elders of the other 4 houses were all present. There were also a few Ji Clan's geniuses who were qualified to enter the reception hall. However, the strongest of these geniuses was only at the great circle of the Earth Immortal stage. The strength of the Ji Clan was inferior to any mountain peak in the Mystic Sword Sect. Father, mother. When Ji Yunfei saw Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue, her eyes revealed a trace of joy as she hurriedly bowed. To her, being able to return home this time could be considered a great fortune. If Ningqi did not go to the venomous toad ancestor's lair, even if the venomous toad ancestor died, she would still be locked up there without knowing. How many years? This time, you ran out for more than 10 years without any news at all, causing your mother to worry all day long. What crime should you commit? Ji Tianyun said with a smile that was not a smile. He glanced at Ningqi from the corner of his eyes and discovered that Ningqi was also at the great circle of the sky immortal stage. The other elders of the 4 houses and the geniuses of the Ji clan were also sizing up Ningqi. Originally, they wanted to see who was able to walk together with Ji Yunfei, but when they discovered that Ningqi's cultivation was not weaker than Ji Yunfei's, the elders looked at each other and nodded slightly. As for the geniuses of the Ji clan who were planning to cause trouble for Ningqi, however, they gave up on this idea. Speaking of this matter, Ji Yunfei was extremely angry. She told them about how Jin Yujing had deceived her, causing her to be imprisoned in the venomous toad ancestor's underground palace and suffer all sorts of torture. Hearing this, Ji Tianyun and the others' breathing became heavy, their eyes blazing with fire. Jin Yujing is a disciple of the Profound Light sect, right? I never thought that this woman would have such a poisonous heart. She truly deserves to die. Kong Wenyue's expression was somewhat cold. Then, a gentle smile blossomed on her face. She stood up and bowed to Ningqi. Thank you, Mr. Wu, for saving me. Otherwise, I don't know what kind of torture my daughter would have to endure in these years. In Ji Yunfei's story, Ningqi just happened to pass by the nest of the venomous toad ancestor and saved her. Some of the scenes that would expose Ningqi's strength were left out by Ji Yunfei. Ji Yunfei already understood that the reason why Ningqi didn't want to expose his identity was most likely because he was in the limelight and was afraid that an unparalleled existence would come to kill him. After all, not many people in the celestial world had obtained the title of number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking list. Thank you, Mr. Wu, for saving me. Everyone from the Ji clan bowed to Ningqi. Ningqi smiled and returned the bow. Tomorrow, I will make a trip to the Profound Light sect. However, Yunfei has returned safely today, and a genius like Mr. Wu has come to our Ji clan as a guest. Naturally, we have to make proper arrangements. Ji Tianyun smiled, and his body emitted a trace of golden immortal aura. Chapter 2635. Xiang Yu is here? Ji Tianyun frowned slightly and then said with a smile, Yunrua's sect is well informed. Let him wait in the side hall for a while. Yes. As soon as the servant of the Ji clan retreated to the door, he heard a chuckle coming from outside. Then a figure walked into the reception hall and saluted Ji Tianyun. Xiang Yu greets Patriarch Ji. When the heavens favorites of the Ji clan saw this young man, their expressions changed. They seemed to be very familiar with him. Some of them nodded, some of them smiled. Ji Tianyun nodded at Xiang Yu with a faint smile. No need to be so polite. Kong Wenyue glanced at Xiang Yu, then at Ji Yunfei. She smiled and said, Yunfei hasn't been at Ji clan all these years, but you have to come here every year. How thoughtful of you. Aunt Kong, you must be joking. You are my mother's elder sister, so it's only natural that I come here to pay my respects to you and uncle. Xiang Yu smiled, then his gaze swept past Ning Qi and landed on Ji Yunfei. Cousin Yunfei, long time no see. It's only been a little more than 10 years. That's not too long. Ji Yunfei smiled helplessly, then she introduced Ning Qi's background to Xiang Yu. When Xiang Yu heard the words Ancestral Star Mystic Sword Sect, his expression changed slightly. He cupped his hands towards Ning Qi and said, I didn't expect Brother Wu to be a disciple of the Mystic Sword Sect. I wonder if Brother Wu has seen Ning Bei, who was ranked first on the Earth Immortal ranking. Mystic? According to the rumors, he is also a disciple of the Xianjian sect. The number 1 on the Earth Immortal list, Ning Beixian, is a disciple of the Xianjian sect? Ji Tianyun and the others were slightly startled. Looking at their expressions, it seemed that they did not know about this matter at all. It seemed that although Ning Qi was famous, there were still very few people on planet South Peak who knew about him. Uncle doesn't know about this? Xiang Yu looked at Ji Tianyun with some surprise. Apart from calling Ji Tianyun Patriarch Ji, when they first met, Xiang Yu had been calling him Uncle ever since. Ning Qi felt that Xiang Yu was looking at him with a trace of imperceptible hostility. As for where this hostility came from, Ning Qi was well aware of it. He just kept a smile on his face. Big didn't want to pay attention to this. What did it have to do with him, if such an insignificant person wanted to get angry? As long as they didn't do anything stupid, Ning Qi didn't have the time to care. This is the first time I've heard of it. Ji Tianyun nodded. The rest of the elders from the Ji family also chimed in, expressing that they had never heard of this matter. Although they had heard of Ning Beixian, the number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking, they knew very little about his background. So when they found out that Ning Qi was from the same sect as the first on the Earthly Immortal rankings, the gazes they shot at Ning Qi had changed greatly. The geniuses of the Ji clan were especially curious. If it wasn't for the fact that so many seniors were present, they would have immediately asked Ning Qi about Ning Beixian, who was ranked first on the Earthly Immortal ranking. The number 1 on the Earth Deity ranking, Ning Beixian, killed the prodigy of the Jiang family of the Central Empire, Jiang Wei, with a single arrow. This news has been spreading in the deity world recently. Some people say that he is the most talented number 1 on the Earth deity ranking in all these years. Since Brother Wu is a disciple of the Xianjian sect, you should have a good relationship with Ning Beixian. Do you have any other anecdotes related to it for everyone to hear? Xiang Yu smiled at Ning Qi. Actually, Ning Beixian isn't that great. He's just lucky. That's all about him. I'm sure you all know about him. Ning Qi smiled and said, Sour. Everyone suddenly smelled something sour. The Ji clan's prodigies looked at Ning Qi with a hint of mockery in their eyes. Who didn't know that Ning Beixian could kill a Grand Luo? But to the other party, it was just a little bit of luck? Ji Yunfei's expression was a little strange. She didn't expect Ning Qi to evaluate her like that. Killing Jiang Wei with a single arrow seems so insignificant to you, Brother Wu. It seems that the Xianjian sect that you were born in is full of talent. Since Brother Wu has ascended to the perfected heavenly immortal stage at such a young age, I believe your position in the Xianjian sect is not low, right? Xiang Yu smiled and said, Position is indeed not too low. Ning Qi thought for a moment and nodded seriously. It is Xiang Yu's fortune to be able to meet Brother Wu today. I have always wanted to go to the Ancestral Star and fight with the prodigies there, but unfortunately, I never had the chance. I wonder if Brother Wu would do me the honor and fight with me, so that I can know how powerful the prodigies of the Ancestral Star are? Xiang Yu smiled. When the elders of the Ji family heard that, they were slightly startled and subconsciously looked at Ji Tianyun. Ning Qi and Ji Yunfei had just returned to the Ji family. It was probably not a good time to fight, right? Not to mention that after knowing Ning Qi's identity and background, they would always be a little afraid. If Ning Qi was injured in the Ji family, how would he face the Xianjian sect? An explanation from the sect? Don't forget, the Xianjian sect had a monstrous existence like Ning Beixian who could kill a Grand Luo. Ji Tianyun's expression changed slightly as he looked at Xiang Yu and Ning Qi. Without waiting for him to speak, Ji Yunfei had already frowned and rejected such a meaningless fight on Ning Qi's behalf. Cousin Xiang Yu, Brother Wu has traveled thousands of miles to come to planet Southern Mountain. He is already very tired. If you want to fight with him, let's do it next time. After saying that, Ji Yunfei pulled Ning Qi and left. Before leaving, she only said goodbye to Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue. Xiang Yu had a faint smile on his face from beginning to end. Even when he saw Ji Yunfei pulling Ning Qi away, the smile on his face never faltered. Xiang Yu, if you want to compete with young Master Wu, then stay at the Ji family for the next few days. There will always be a chance. Today is indeed not the right time. Kong Wenyue said with a smile. Yes, Aunt Kong. Xiang Yu smiled and nodded. After chatting with everyone for a while, he was led out by the servants to arrange rooms. When he walked out of the guest hall, the smile on Xiang Yu's face instantly disappeared, and a trace of coldness flashed across his eyes. The other elders also left one after another. Not long after, when only Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue were left in the guest hall, Ji Tianyun said indifferently, Yunfei's attitude towards young Master Wu is extraordinary. I'm afraid she has feelings for him. Kong Wenyue smiled and said, Husband, although young Master Wu saved Yunfei, he is also from a famous and orthodox sect. Compared to the Xianjian sect, the Southern Mountain sect is much inferior. However, when my nephew was just born, a supreme expert came to enlighten him, saying that his identity in his previous life was extraordinary, and that he would at least be able to reach the profound realm in the future. Compared to young Master Wu, Xiang Yu is more suitable for Yunfei. Oh, that's right. Take good care of young Master Wu for the next few days. Chapter 2636. As Ji Yunfei called for servants to arrange a place for Ning Qi, she smiled bitterly at Ning Qi and said, My cousin has been cultivating with a supreme being for the past few years. He only returned to planet South Peak 50 years ago. If any man gets close to me, he will propose a duel. Young Master Ning, please don't mind. Young Master Ning, don't mind. I don't mind at all. Ning Qi smiled. Ji Yunfei was startled, then immediately said, If he challenges you again, don't kill him with one arrow. No matter how annoying he is still my cousin, my aunt's darling. Who's going to shoot him? Do I look like someone who kills randomly? Ning Qi smiled. That's good. Ji Yunfei breathed a sigh of relief. At most, I'll break one of his legs. Ning Qi smiled. Ji Yunfei rolled her eyes helplessly. However, she could accept this result. For immortals, losing a leg was not a big deal. They could recover in a short time. As long as they didn't die from the arrow, it would be fine. The residence Ji Yunfei had arranged for Ning Qi was a small courtyard with a complete set of facilities and 30 maids. Speaking of which, Ji family's luxurious residence was several grades higher than Ancestor Poison Toad's residence. In the process, Ning Qi learned more about Xiang Yu from Ji Yunfei. A powerful being said your cousin is the reincarnation of someone great and took him away from planet Nan Yu to cultivate. Logically, your cousin is a good match for you. Why don't you accept him? If you marry him, your Ji family will have another powerful backing. That powerful being is at least an Xian immortal, right? Ning Qi smiled. If I like him, then I like him. If I don't like him, then I don't like him. No matter how extraordinary my cousin is, it's useless if I don't like him. Ji Yunfei said straightforwardly. If your cousin knows what you think, he'll be very sad. Ning Qi smiled with a slightly strange expression. His eyes inadvertently glanced outside. That's why I didn't dare to talk to him all these years and could only hide from him. When I have time, I go out to train. In the end, I was tricked by that bitch Jean Yujing. Ji Yunfei said helplessly, You know how weird those almighty people are. What if they come to my house to propose marriage because I rejected my cousin? My mother and father also want me to marry my cousin. They have hinted at it more than once or twice. I want to delay as much time as I can. Looking at your condition, there should be many young geniuses that come to your clan to propose marriage, right? Ningqi laughed. Yeah, a little bit. Ji Yunfei smiled. All right, I've arranged a place for you to stay. You haven't been back for so many years. You should go and catch up with your parents. Also, help me ask around about the Almighties you mentioned before. See if they're still on planet South Peak. Keep a low profile. Ningqi laughed. This, all right. Ji Yunfei saw that Ningqi was sending her off. Although she wanted to stay a little longer and talk to Ningqi about the ancestral star, she thought that it would be embarrassing to do so, so she gave up on the idea. Outside, Xiangyu, who was coincidentally passing by, turned around with a livid face the moment Ji Yunfei came out. He clenched his fists as if he wanted to squeeze someone to death. During the banquet, the Ji clan received Ningqi with the best treatment. In the next few days, Ji Tianyun seemed to be hinting at Ningqi to return to the ancestral star. Ningqi pretended not to understand. Before finding Jian Shilai, the three women, and Jiang Yu, Ningqi felt that staying in the Ji clan was not a bad choice. After all, Ji Yunfei's information source in planet South Peak was much better than his. Some of the disciples of the Ji family noticed that Ningqi was easy to get along with other than being a little jealous of Ning Beixian, so they often came to Ningqi's courtyard to ask him about the ancestral star. Of course, the topic would always be Ning Beixian. Big Brother Wu, you always look down on Ning Beixian. Can you beat him? Ji Wei finally could not hold it in any longer. He was a disciple of the Ji clan's fourth branch, a late-stage Earth immortal. He was a rare prodigy in the Ji clan. There were 7 or 8 other Ji clan disciples with him. There were both men and women, and their cultivation ranged from early-stage Earth immortal to perfected Earth immortal. They were all in the same generation as Ji Yunfei, but Ji Yun was the only one who was a perfected Heaven Immortal. The rest did not even have an early-stage Heaven Immortal. This was the difference in talent. That's right. Big Brother Wu may be a perfected Heaven Immortal, but Ning Beixian could kill a Grand Luo with a single arrow. I don't think Big Brother Wu is a match for Ning Beixian. Another Ji clan disciple agreed. Her name was Ji Fengxian. Compared to Ji Yunfei, she was probably the fan of Ningqi the most in the Ji clan. Who said I'm not a match for him? Ningqi smiled. Without waiting for the other party to refute, he changed the topic and said, Have you heard of any supreme experts coming to planet Nanyu recently? Ji Fengxian was startled, then nodded and said, I think I heard the Patriarch and the others talking about it before. A few supreme experts did come to planet Nanyu a while ago, but they seemed to be doing something else. Even when old ancestor Nanyu went to pay his respects, they ignored him. After a pause, Big Brother Wu, you're changing the topic again. We're talking about young Master Ning Beixian. What's your relationship with him in the Xianjian sect? When are you going back to the ancestral star? Can you bring me along? And us. Ji Wei and the others quickly said. Although they were disciples of the Ji clan and were already Earth immortals, crossing the immortal domain was still a huge risk for them. Only when they reached the sky immortal stage could they barely cross the immortal domain safely. After all, the distance between planet Nanyu and the ancestral star was too far. With their Earth immortal cultivation, they would all turn to dust. Who would care which clan they came from? Other than the main branch's Ji clan, which was useful in the immortal world, their Ji clan's name could only be effective on planet Nanyu. You want to go to the ancestral star? Ningqi laughed. I want to. I can also meet the main branch's Ji clan's pride, Ji Shan. That's also an existence I respect. Ji Wei and the others nodded. I won't bring you guys there. Ningqi laughed. Everyone was speechless when they heard this. However, Ningqi's cultivation was much higher than theirs. Even if they joined forces, they would not be able to defeat Ningqi's finger. They could only helplessly be teased by Ningqi. Chapter 26:37. Ji Fei, what did you say? Mo Qingqing is here? Isn't Sir Xiangyue still in our Ji clan? This is going to be a good show. Ji Fengxian's eyes lit up. Southern Mountain School's 4 young masters? Ningqi froze. Ji Wei immediately said, Big Brother Wu, you just arrived at planet Southern Mountain, so you might not know that Mo Qingqing and young Master Xiang Yu have been fighting for cousin Yun Fei for decades. Back then, we thought that cousin Yun Fei would marry Mo Qingqing. That way, our Ji family would be able to form a marriage alliance with the Southern Mountain sect. Because of Mo Qingqing, the youngest son of Southern Mountain's ancestor, and the most talented prodigy in Southern Mountain's school. Ji Fengxian continued, we didn't expect young Master Xiangyue to suddenly come back. Back then, none of us knew that cousin Yun Fei had such a cousin, and the Yunhua sect never revealed anything about it. Rumor has it that young Master Xiangyue has been following a mighty figure to cultivate in his place, and he hasn't been back for long. He hasn't been back for a long time and has had many disputes with Mo Qingqing. The two often fight, but Mo Qingqing seems to lose more often. That's why. Ji Fei, who had just come in to report, said excitedly, they've fought so many times, but we've never seen it with our own eyes. Today, Mo Qingqing is here to propose marriage. It's very likely that he will fight with young Master Xiang Yu in our Ji clan. We'll be able to see with our own eyes which of the 2 most promising immortals on planet Nan Yu is stronger. Big Brother Wu, why don't you come with us? You're from the Mystic Sword sect of the Ancestral Star, and you're a peak heaven immortal. I'm sure you won't be weaker than Mo Qingqing and young Master Xiang Yu. Perhaps the 3 of you can fight together. Ji Wei looked at Ningqi expectantly. I can watch, but not participate. Ningqi smiled. He wanted to see what Yun Fei's expression would be like. Ji clan's guest hall. Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue sat together, and on both sides sat the elders of the 4th branch of the Ji clan. Apart from them, there were only 2 figures standing in the middle of the hall. The entrance of the hall was crowded with Ji clan disciples who wanted to watch the show. Even if the elders of the 4th branch winked at them, this group of guys pretended not to see it. He looked around the hall curiously. Uncle Tianyun, Aunt Wenyue, your nephew has come here today to discuss my marriage with Yun Fei. Mo Qingqing smiled. He was very handsome, even more handsome than Ningqi. When he smiled, he was just like his name, a little alluring. Beside Mo Qingqing stood a figure. The owner of this figure exuded a trace of golden immortal qi. His cultivation seemed to be even denser than Ji Tianyun's. There was a faint smile on his face. Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue glanced at each other. After that, Ji Tianyun smiled at Mo Qingqing. Young Master Mo, please don't call me uncle. How can I accept it? If that's the case, wouldn't I be on the same level as old ancestor Nan Yu? I'm not that arrogant, hee. Hearing this, Mo Qingqing smiled. As long as the marriage between Yun Fei and I is successful, you will be my father-in-law. Wouldn't that make you the same generation as my father? How could I not? Mo Qingqing, are you sick? A silhouette broke through the crowd and barged into the great hall, only to see Ji Yun Fei glaring at Mo Qingqing with incomparable anger. Wasn't cousin Xiang Yu enough? Another Mo Qingqing? She suddenly had the thought of leaving planet Nan Yu to train. Yun Fei. Mo Qingqing turned to Ji Yun Fei and said affectionately, we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. You've lost a lot of weight. What does cousin Yun Fei's weight have to do with an outsider like you? A silhouette broke through the crowd again and entered the great hall. The Ji clan disciples outside were excited. They finally saw Xiang Yu and Mo Qingqing face off. Perhaps today they could get what they wanted. They could personally witness the methods of the two most promising immortals of planet Nan Yu. Xiang Yu, you're really haunting me. You're everywhere. Mo Qingqing looked at Xiang Yu and sneered. Xiang Yu glanced at the golden immortal beside him and smiled. Yunfei is my cousin and Aunt Kong is my mother's elder sister. What's wrong with me staying in the Ji clan? But you, I heard you're here to propose marriage? Isn't this a bit too funny? You don't even have a relationship with my cousin, and you dare to propose marriage? You. Alright, you two stop arguing. Ji Yunfei slapped her forehead helplessly. But Xiang Yu and Mo Qingqing were like mortal enemies. They couldn't stop talking and didn't care about Ji Yunfei at all. Calm down, you two. Ji Tianyun said calmly. When Mo Qingqing and Xiang Yu heard Ji Tianyun's words, they shut their mouths and looked at Ji Tianyun. However, their peripheral vision was still sparring. At this moment, the golden immortal standing beside Mo Qingqing cupped his hands towards Ji Tianyun and said solemnly, Patriarch Ji, today I came under the order of old ancestor Nan Yu to propose marriage to Patriarch Ji on behalf of young Master Mo. Let's see what Patriarch Ji thinks. If you agree, we will set the wedding date. Choose a date. Mo Qingqing glanced at Xiang Yu indifferently. No matter how hard Xiang Yu fought today, there was no way he could win against him. He had a golden immortal with him, while Xiang Yu was alone. The patriarch of the Yunrua sect would not risk offending the Southern Mountains sect just for him. Make way, let us in. Ji Wei and Ji Fei were leading the way, while Ning Qi, Ji Fengxian, and the others were following behind them. Although the rest of the Ji family's disciples were a little dissatisfied, when they saw that it was Ning Qi, they all shut their mouths and even took the initiative to let Ning Qi walk in front of them. Soon, Ning Qi reached the entrance of the hall and could clearly see everything that was happening inside. When he saw Ji Yunfei's lifeless expression, the corner of his lips curled up slightly. At this time, Ji Tianyun, who was in a dilemma, suddenly saw Ning Qi and his eyes brightened. Young Master Wu is here, please come in. Young Master Wu? Xiang Yu and Mo Qingqing turned to look at Ning Qi. For some reason, the two suddenly felt a sense of common hatred for a common enemy. The golden immortal beside Mo Qingqing also turned to look at Ning Qi. When he saw Ning Qi's face, his eyes revealed a trace of astonishment. It's you. It's you? Chapter 26:38. Sir Jiang, do you know this person? Mo Qingqing glanced at Jiang Kun suspiciously. Jiang Kun nodded with a complicated expression, but his fingers began to tremble. Not only did he know Ning Qi, but he was also forced to leave Ancestral Planet by Ning Qi. Thinking back to when he was forced to leave Ancestral Planet, Ning Qi was no match for him at all. Jiang Kun was furious. After leaving Ancestral Planet, Jiang Kun continued to pay attention to Ning Qi. He had a few loyal subordinates and disciples at Dajiang Peak and some friends on Ancestral Planet. Although they were far away, he could still receive news about Ning Qi. The more time passed, the more Jiang Kun felt that Old Man Mysterious Sword was right to ask him to leave Ancestral Planet. It was the right thing to do because he was not sure if he would be killed by Ning Qi with an arrow like Jiang Wei. After all, he had chased after Ning Qi for a long time. Elder Jiang Kun, I haven't heard from you for a long time. I didn't expect you to come to Planet Southern Mountain. This place is very far from Ancestral Planet. Ning Qi said with a faint smile. Ji Yunfei was taken aback. She looked at Jiang Kun strangely. Could this person be from the Mystic Sword sect like Ning Qi? But why would a golden immortal from the Mystic Sword sect come to Planet Southern Mountain to be a guest of the Southern Mountain sect? That didn't make sense. The Mystic Sword sect was at least 10 times stronger than the Southern Mountain sect. Ning Beixian, it's my bad luck to run into you today. Are you going to kill me with an arrow like Jiang Wei, or are you going to kill me with a sword like how you killed White Bones? Jiang Kun said with an uncertain expression. Ning Beixian? Suddenly hearing these 3 words from Jiang Kun's mouth, everyone present was slightly stunned. There was a trace of disbelief in their eyes as they subconsciously looked at Ning Qi. No way? Brother Wu Yin is Ning Beixian? Ji Wei and Ji Fei looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Ji Fengxian and the rest were shocked too. They had been going to Ning Qi's courtyard to chat with him and ask about Ning Beixian. But they didn't expect that the person they were talking to was the former number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking, Ning Beixian. Thinking of this, Ji Fengxian suddenly had a flash of understanding in her eyes. She looked at Ji Yunfei and finally understood why Ji Yunfei, who was usually most afraid of being entangled by men, would bring Ning Qi to the Ji family this time. I see. Ji Fengxian looked at Ning Qi fervently and even swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Isn't that Wu Yin of the Mystic Sword sect? How did it become Ning Beixian? Xiang Yu frowned slightly and looked at Ning Qi with slight fear. However, even though Jiang Kun had mentioned Ning Qi's name, he was only slightly afraid. He wasn't as shocked as the other disciples of the Ji family, and he didn't fear the legendary number 1 on the earthly immortal rankings. Elder Jiang Kun, what did you say? Is he Ning Beixian? Mo Qingqing stared at Jiang Kun with a complicated expression on his face. His heart was filled with anticipation, hoping that Jiang Kun would change his words and say that he had mistaken Xiang Yu for someone else. If not, he would have another strong competitor, a competitor even stronger than Xiang Yu. After all, news of Ning Beixian killing Jiang Wei with a single arrow had spread far and wide. Even planet South Peak, which was extremely far away from the ancestral star, had heard about it. However, Jiang Kun's last sentence was rather puzzling. Who was White Bones? They only knew that Ning Qi killed Jiang Wei, but they didn't know that Ning Qi killed White Bones with a single strike after he turned into immortal. If they knew, they would be even more shocked than Ning Qi killing Jiang Wei with a single strike. After all, they believed that Ning Qi killed Jiang Wei because of the immortal slaying bow, but killing a Grand Luo with a single strike was his own strength. Jiang Kun didn't answer Mo Qingqing's question. Instead, he stared at Ning Qi, ready to attack at any moment. Even if he were to die, he wanted to struggle. What are you afraid of? The Mystic Sword Patriarch is sending you away from the ancestral star because he doesn't want you to die. As long as you don't return to the ancestral star, I won't bother to kill you. Ning Qi glanced at Jiang Kun with a faint smile. The crowd couldn't help but feel a little out of place when they saw a perfected heavenly immortal talking about killing a golden immortal so easily. However, on second thought, they felt that it was perfectly normal. Ning Qi could even kill a Grand Luo, so a mere golden immortal was probably nothing to him. You know? There was a hint of shock in Jiang Kun's eyes. He thought that no one else knew that the Mystic Sword Patriarch wanted him to leave the ancestral star. I guessed. Ning Qi grinned. Jiang Kun breathed a sigh of relief inwardly when he saw that Ning Qi really did not intend to kill him, and his expression relaxed considerably as well. Meanwhile, Ji Tianyun, who had been silent all this while, rose and walked to Ning Qi after a glance at Ji Yunfei, cupping his hands and smiling. So you're young Master Wu, young Master Ning. Please forgive me if I had entertained you earlier. He did not rise even when facing Xiang Yu and Mo Qingqing, but now he rose and walked to Ning Qi himself. His attitude immediately annoyed Xiang Yu and Mo Qingqing. However, the others felt that it was normal. After all, Ning Qi was the first on the earthly immortal leaderboard. Just this identity alone was enough to make people look up to him. Moreover, Ning Qi was now a sky immortal in the full circle, and he even had the battle record of killing Jiang Wei with one arrow. Even Patriarch Nan Yu dared not be careless in front of Ning Qi. You're too kind, Patriarch Ji. I didn't expect to see Elder Jiang Kun here. Ning Qi smiled. Ji Tianyun naturally knew what Ning Qi meant. He did not intend to reveal his real name, but today Jiang Kun revealed his origin. It was inevitable that he would be embarrassed. Yunfei, why did you hide it from your father and me? Kong Wenyue glanced at Ji Yunfei with dissatisfaction and transmitted her voice. Mother, I was wrong. Ji Yunfei admitted her mistake and did not intend to defend herself. She knew her mother's temper. The more she defended herself, the more she would scold her. Kong Wenyue sighed in her heart, then felt a little awkward. What she meant was that Ji Yunfei was going to marry Xiang Yu, and this was decided a long time ago. But now, she found that Ji Yunfei and Ning Qi's relationship was a little unusual. Moreover, Ning Qi was once the first on the Earth Immortal ranking. In terms of talent and combat power, Jiang Wei was far superior to Xiang Yu. It was just that Xiang Yu's background and birth made her feel extraordinary. Mo Qinqing looked at Ji Tianyun, then at Ning Qi, and said unwillingly, Uncle, I'm here today to propose marriage. What do you think? This matter, let's talk about it later. Let's talk about it later. Ha! Ji Tianyun laughed. Chapter 2639. When Mo Qinqing reached the entrance of the hall, she suddenly turned around and looked at Xiang Yu and Ning Qi. She stared at them for several breaths of time before leaving. After Mo Qinqing left, the atmosphere in the palace was no longer as stiff as before. Today, Mo Qinqing brought a golden immortal to propose a marriage. There was a trace of coercion in her actions. Everyone saw it and understood it. It was just that no one dared to say it out loud. The disciples of the Ji clan outside the hall were all looking at Ning Qi with fiery eyes. Xiang Yu smiled at Ning Qi after seeing this scene. I didn't expect Brother Wu to be Ning Beixian. This is a bit surprising. However, I'm afraid it's unbecoming of an expert to hide like this. What? Are you saying I'm wrong to use a fake name? Ning Qi looked at Xiang Yu with a faint smile. After knowing his identity, Xiang Yu still dared to speak sarcastically. This might not be impulsive, but he had something to rely on. Ji Tianyun quickly tried to smooth things over. Young Master Ning hid his name, naturally he has his reasons. Xiang Yu, don't say any more. Xiang Yu smiled. I can guess at the reason behind it. You're probably afraid that the bow will be taken away, aren't you? Without it, I wonder if Brother Ning can still kill a great Luo prodigy like Jiang Wei. Cousin Xiang Yu, don't say that. Ji Yunfei said unhappily. She could tell that Xiang Yu was purposely picking a fight with Ning Qi. Moreover, her motive was probably to force Ning Qi to not use the bow and fight him. Why don't you try it yourself? Ning Qi smiled. Xiang Yu's eyes lit up. Brother Ning wants to compete with me? Then, he changed the topic and said with some shame, if Brother Ning uses the bow, I admit that I'm no match for you. It's coming, it's coming. The Ji family members outside were all excited. The elders of the 4 branches in the hall looked at each other, but did not say anything to dissuade Ning Qi. That was because they were also very curious. To what extent did Ning Qi's strength rely on external forces? After all, they knew that the rankings on the Heavenly Tao ranking didn't take into account external factors. The fact that Ning Qi was able to rank first on the Earthly Immortal ranking naturally proved that he was recognized by the Heavenly Tao. However, Ning Qi's name wasn't on the Heavenly Tao ranking. It was very likely that he wasn't recognized by the Heavenly Tao. Could it be that his strength was only in the middle of the Heaven Immortal stage? Kong Wenyue frowned and then smiled at Xiang Yu and Ning Qi. One of you is a guest of my Ji family, and the other is my nephew. I think it's better if you don't compete, so as not to hurt your relationship. Then, she winked at Ji Yunfei. Ji Yunfei quickly nodded and said, Young Master Ning, please don't compete with my cousin. His temper is like this, please forgive him. Kong Wenyue's expression immediately darkened. You call this persuasion? This was clearly to provoke Xiang Yu's anger. Sure enough, after hearing Ji Yunfei's tone, Xiang Yu smiled and looked at Ning Qi with a hint of provocation in his eyes. Well, then I won't use the bow. After all, the immortal execution bow will kill. There is no hatred between me and young Master Xiang Yu, so there is no need to fight to the death. I will compete with you empty-handed. How about it? Ning Qi smiled. Empty-handed? Xiang Yu's eyes flashed with a trace of complacency. He seemed to be afraid that Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue would try to persuade him again. He immediately nodded and said, Okay. Since Brother Ning is so straightforward, then I will also be empty-handed. I won't use any magic treasures. This kind of competition can really show our strength. Ji Tianyun sighed in his heart. It seemed that this competition was inevitable. For the Ji family, no matter which side won, it didn't seem to be good. Great. The competition between Big Brother Ning and young Master Xiang Yu will be incomparably wonderful, ha ha ha. Go to our Ji family's gladiatorial arena and see if there is any blind guy in there. Clear the arena. The Ji family's disciples outside were even more excited than Xiang Yu. Some of them quickly rushed to the gladiatorial arena. Young Master Ning, do you really want to fight? Ji Yunfei looked at Ning Qi helplessly and transmitted her voice. Don't worry. At most, one leg will be broken. Ning Qi smiled and nodded at Ji Yunfei. Seeing this, Xiang Yu knew that the two were communicating in private. The smile on his face became even brighter, but his eyes were cold. Looking at the smile on Ning Qi's face, he felt extremely disgusted. Smile? Let's see if you can still smile later. On the way to the gladiatorial arena, Xiang Yu was surrounded by a group of Ji family's disciples who supported him. Next to Ning Qi stood Ji Wei and the others. In terms of momentum, they might not be as strong as Xiang Yu's side, but Xiang Yu's expression was very ugly. He couldn't even maintain the smile on his face. Because Ji Yunfei had chosen to follow Ning Qi, Xiang Yu couldn't accept this no matter what. Big Brother Ning, you really hid it from us. No wonder you said that Ning Beixian is nothing. So you are Ning Beixian? Ji Wei said faintly. Ji Fei, Ji Fengxian, and the other disciples of the Ji family had the same expression. These days, they often went to Ning Qi's place and were quite familiar with him. When they thought about how they acted like fools for a few days, asking Ning Qi about Ning Beixian and showing looks of admiration, they felt a little ashamed. Cousin Yunfei, why didn't you tell us Big Brother Ning's true identity? Ji Fengxian curled her lips and said. Ji Yunfei glanced at her, then at Ning Qi and said helplessly, That's because young Master Ning doesn't want to reveal his identity. Think about it, as the first on the earthly immortal ranking, there are many people who want to kill him. Now that his identity is exposed, I'm afraid that people will immediately come and use his name to make themselves famous. That's true. Everyone was slightly stunned, then a trace of worry appeared on their faces. Ning Qi glanced at Ji Yunfei. He didn't expect this girl to think of this. Even he didn't think of it. The reason why he didn't want to reveal his identity was not as complicated as Ji Yunfei made it out to be. He just didn't want any other changes to occur in this matter. It would be best if he could secretly find Jian Shilai and the other two girls. After obtaining the demon ancestor's heart, he would take them away from planet Nanyu. There were many disciples of the Ji family. After the disciples of the four branches and the elders arrived, the Ji family's arena was filled to the brim. Ji Tianyun, Kong Wenyue, and the elders of the four branches sat on the exclusive viewing platform. Together with everyone else, they looked at Ning Qi and Xiang Yu in the arena. Young Master Ning, Xiang Yu, this competition between you two, don't go overboard. Don't hurt the harmony. Ji Tianyun reminded them. Uncle, don't worry. Chapter 2640. I didn't expect young Master Xiang Yu to cultivate a body refining technique. His natural talent is truly terrifyingly formidable. He was able to break through to the perfection stage of the heavenly immortal realm at such a young age while cultivating both internally and externally? The prodigies of the Ji family were shocked by Xiang Yu's boiling blood. It seemed that even Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue didn't know that Xiang Yu cultivated a body refining technique. Even Ji Yunfei was surprised. It was well known that heavenly geniuses in the immortal world rarely cultivated body refining techniques because cultivating body refining techniques would slow down the advancement speed of immortal Tao cultivation. Although body refining techniques could burst out extremely strong combat power among low-level cultivators, its shortcomings were also very obvious. With the same aptitude, if one focused on body refining while the other focused on the immortal Tao, then the latter's advancement speed would definitely be faster than the former's. When one reached the celestial immortal stage, it would be even more obvious. On the other hand, body refining was generally acknowledged to have no future. After all, immortals and demons were fundamentally different. The most powerful cultivator of body refining technique was probably at the stage of Tai genuine celestial. Among the celestial dukes, none of them was famous for body refining technique. This was enough to prove that body refining technique was very weak. Therefore, when they found out that Xiang Yu had cultivated a body refinement technique, they were shocked and confused. However, they were even more interested in this battle. Before this, many Ji family disciples and Ji family elders who thought that Xiang Yu could not be Ning Qi's opponent now felt that Xiang Yu and Ning Qi could indeed fight. After all, a body tempering technique could significantly increase the combat strength of low-level cultivators. The most important thing was that both of them agreed not to use it. Use any magical treasures. In this way, Xiang Yu, who had cultivated the body refining technique, was definitely faster than Ning Qi in terms of defense and speed. Brother Ning, it's a pity that I was already a heaven immortal when you became the first on the earthly immortal ranking list. Otherwise, I would have liked to have a fight with you when I was still an earthly immortal. Xiang Yu smiled at Ning Qi. Hearing this, everyone's eyes turned strange. Did Xiang Yu mean that when he was an earth immortal, he wouldn't be weaker than Ning Qi? How arrogant! Ji Wei and the others exchanged glances, feeling slightly displeased. Really? Ning Qi smiled and said, You should be able to see that I have cultivated a body tempering technique. This body tempering technique should be ranked in the top 3 in the immortal world. Even an immortal lord wouldn't have such a body tempering technique. Before returning to planet Nanyu, I killed 3 early golden immortals and fought with Mo Qingqing. I'm just going easy on you. Even if there were 10 Mo Qingqings, they wouldn't be my match. Xiang Yu chuckled. Hiss! The people of the Ji family in the arena all gasped when they heard this. They looked at Xiang Yu in shock and uncertainty, as if trying to determine the truth of his words. One of the top 3 body tempering arts in the immortal world? Not even the immortal monarch had it? He killed 3 early golden immortals before returning to planet Nanyu? Even 10 Mo Qingqings were not his match? What a joke! Since that was the case, why wasn't his name on the heavenly immortal rankings? Some of the more clear-headed disciples and elders of the Ji family thought of this and frowned at Xiang Yu. Before this, they didn't know that Xiang Yu was a braggart. As for those disciples who had a good relationship with Xiang Yu, their eyes were filled with worship and excitement. Then, why isn't your name on the heavenly immortal rankings? Ning Qi smiled. Xiang Yu looked at Ning Qi with a trace of mockery mixed with a trace of inexplicable arrogance, like a prince looking at a peasant. Not everyone will appear on the heavenly immortal rankings. There are many things in the immortal world that an existence like you is not qualified to know. Xiang Yu smiled as he walked towards Ning Qi. Everyone instantly tensed up. A fight was about to begin. At the same time, they felt that Xiang Yu's words were a bit mysterious. Of course, the heavenly immortal rankings wouldn't record everyone's name. Wasn't this nonsense? Not being on the heavenly immortal rankings meant that one wasn't qualified to be on it. A trace of displeasure flashed in Ji Tianyun's eyes. He glanced at Kong Wenyue, only to find that Kong Wenyue seemed to be the same as him, dissatisfied with Xiang Yu's words just now. Kong Wenyue's dissatisfaction was with the mentality of an elder. She felt that everything about Xiang Yu was good, but the words she said today were a bit lacking in depth. Reincarnating, cultivating with a supreme existence, knowing that some people on the heavenly immortal rankings won't appear on it. Wu Ningqi looked at Xiang Yu thoughtfully. After that, he struck out with his palm. 9 flame deluo palm. The palm formed from 9 balls of immortal flames landed on Xiang Yu's body. Xiang Yu didn't even blink. With a shake of his body, he neutralized Ningqi's attack. Is your strength only this much? Xiang Yu's lips curled up. When everyone saw this, the way they looked at Ningqi became a lot more strange. Eternal Void Spirit Void Blade. Xiang Yu also easily neutralized it. His physical strength seemed to be very terrifying, so terrifying that Ningqi's immortal art was useless against him. 18 dragons subduing palms. The roaring silver dragon rushed towards Xiang Yu. Xiang Yu's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of seriousness because he discovered that Ningqi's attack wasn't simple. But Xiang Yu chose not to dodge. He still used his physical body to withstand Ningqi's attack. He felt that only by doing this would he be able to show the difference between him and Ningqi. Boom! The silver dragon dissipated. Apart from some black marks on his chest, Xiang Yu didn't seem to be injured at all. With a devilish smile on his face, he walked towards Ningqi step by step. He had achieved his goal. He had successfully created a feeling of invincibility. Therefore, when the disciples of the Ji family saw this scene, it was as if they were watching an invincible cultivator pushing Ningqi step by step towards the edge of a cliff. Young Master Xiang Yu is so strong. Even an ordinary peak sky immortal wouldn't be able to withstand Big Brother Ning's attacks, right? But young Master Xiang Yu used his physical body to block it. Body tempering art is so terrifying. If I had known, I would have also cultivated body tempering art. The disciples of the Ji family secretly communicated with each other. They felt that today's battle was too exciting. In fact, it was all because Xiang Yu's opponent was Ningqi, and Ningqi was at a disadvantage. This contrast made them feel very excited. The supreme expert that your nephew follows is quite powerful. Even the former number 1 on the earthly immortal ranking can't defeat him. Ji Tianyun glanced at Kong Wenyue. The displeasure in Kong Wenyue's eyes had already dissipated, replaced by gratification. Under the disbelieving, worried, and shocked gazes of Ji Wei and the others, Xiang Yu had already walked in front of Ningqi. Brother Ning, why don't you admit defeat? If I attack, you'll either die or be crippled. Chapter 2641. Disbelief flashed through Xiang Yu's eyes. His legs suddenly gave way and he knelt before Ningqi, clutching his stomach as he spoke in a mosquito-like voice. You cultivate a body tempering technique too? It wasn't that his voice was small, but that he was in so much pain that he could only make such a small sound. However, everyone present was an immortal and could hear him clearly. What's going on? Everyone stared at this scene in shock. Wasn't Xiang Yu very strong just now? He used his body to resist Ningqi's immortal art, yet he wasn't injured at all. How could a body that could even resist immortal arts be forced to kneel on the ground by a single punch? Your body tempering technique is indeed of a very high level. I don't know if it can rank among the top 3 in the world of immortals, but you're the only person I've ever seen who has truly put in effort into it. Ningqi looked down at Xiang Yu with a slight smile. But it's still not enough for me. Ningqi continued. How could that be? Master told me personally that there are very few in the same realm who are stronger than me in body tempering technique. Xiang Yu seemed to have recovered a little. His voice was a little louder, but he still couldn't stand up. Ning Qi's punch just now wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. It directly messed up the immortal qi in his body, and his legs almost lost strength. That's because your master isn't experienced enough. Ning Qi smiled. Xiang Yu's body tempering technique was indeed very strong, but it was only 1 or 2 levels lower than Ning Qi's basic physical strength. Xiang Yu's claim of killing 3 early-stage golden immortals was probably true. However, Ning Qi's strength was already greater than his without opening the 9 inner hidden gates. Perhaps a Grand Luo who cultivated both inner and outer body would be able to withstand 1 or 2 blows of such power, but they would definitely not be able to withstand more than 3 blows. Don't you dare insult my master! Xiang Yu growled and tried to get up, but Ning Qi was nowhere to be seen. At this moment, Ning Qi's voice came from his right. I promised your cousin that I'd only break one of your legs. Before Xiang Yu could react, Ning Qi had already stepped on his knee. Immediately after, a crisp sound came from Xiang Yu's knee, and it broke into 2. Ah! Xiang Yu let out a painful howl and looked at his broken leg in disbelief. He couldn't understand why his body, which he had painstakingly trained for so many years, was so weak in his opponent's hands. Even if it was a celestial art, his body could withstand it. Why is he so strong? Why? What kind of body-tempering art is he cultivating? Xiang Yu roared in his heart, but at this moment, no one could give him an answer. Ji Tianyun and the others stared blankly at this scene and gasped in their hearts. Ning Beixian is indeed Ning Beixian. He is still so strong even after becoming a sky immortal. The elders of the 4th branch of the Ji family looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. Ji Wei and the other disciples of the Ji family who admired Ning Qi were very excited. The scene of Ning Qi easily defeating Xiang Yu completely matched their expectations of Ning Qi. As for the disciples of the Ji family who supported Xiang Yu, they were silent. Their eyes were filled with confusion and fear. The battle is over. Kong Wenyu abruptly stood up and looked at Xiang Yu worriedly. Seeing that Ning Qi didn't kill him again, she heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. However, her expression didn't look too good. After all, Xiang Yu was her younger sister's son. He could be considered a close relative. Now that Ning Qi had broken his leg, she also felt embarrassed. Ji Yunfei glanced at Xiang Yu and a trace of pity flashed in her eyes. However, she immediately cheered up. After this, Xiang Yu wouldn't have the face to pester her anymore. No. It's not over yet. Xiang Yu suddenly roared in front of everyone. His eyes were immediately covered with a layer of blood. Then, his aura continued to rise. All the blood in his body gathered in between his eyebrows. A red arm reached out from between his eyebrows and grabbed at Ning Qi. What kind of celestial art is this? Ji Tianyun and the others looked at this scene in shock. Because Xiang Yu wasn't using immortal qi, but blood qi. There was actually a celestial art that used blood qi in this world? Amaterasu blood hand? A voice sounded in Ning Qi's mind. It was the voice of the small gourd. This is a celestial clan's Jiang family's demonic art. Rumor has it that it was invented by a certain demon immortal. It can use the entire body's blood qi to unleash a powerful attack that far exceeds one's cultivation. Back then, that great demon immortal relied on this celestial art to kill many immortals. This person is related to the Jiang family. The small gourd's voice was a little excited and a little scared. He. After Xiang Yu unleashed this attack, a smile of success appeared on his face. In his opinion, no matter how strong Ning Qi was, he would be heavily injured even if he didn't die from this attack. This was what his master had told him personally. Because his cultivation wasn't high enough, he couldn't unleash the full power of the Amaterasu blood hand. However, he could still kill a golden immortal with a sneak attack. But after using it, his body would fall into a weakened state. Moreover, it would consume a lot of blood qi and would take a very long time to recover. This period of time would be enough for others to catch up to him. The price of this attack was not just an ordinary high bang. Ning Qi only needed one punch to shatter the bloody hand. Then, he looked at Xiang Yu thoughtfully. Xiang Yu stared at Ning Qi in shock. His vision darkened and he fainted. In that instant, his mind became empty and he didn't know what to think. Seeing this, everyone from the Ji family was sure that Ning Qi won this battle, while Xiang Yu lost miserably. His last attack was a sneak attack, which many people despised. Most importantly, it didn't succeed and was easily broken by his opponent. One could imagine the gap between Xiang Yu and Ning Qi. So huge. Kong Wenyue's figure suddenly appeared beside Xiang Yu and smiled at Ning Qi. Young Master Ning, my nephew's skills are inferior and he has already lost. Thank you for showing mercy, young Master Ning. Ning Qi glanced at Ji Yunfei and saw her shaking her head at him with a pleading look in her eyes. He smiled and said to Kong Wenyue, "No need to be so polite. It's just a small battle. Naturally, it won't reach the level of taking someone's life. But Brother Xiang's temper needs to change." Indeed. AI. Chapter 2642. 3 days later, Xiang Yu seemed to have recovered from her injuries. When she woke up, she left the Ji family without saying a word. According to Ji Wei and the others, Xiang Yu did not return to the Yunhua sect. Instead, she left planet South Peak. In this regard, Ji Wei and the others had privately hinted to Ning Qi that Xiang Yu might find the backer behind him to take revenge for what happened today. At the same time, the result of the battle between Ning Qi and Xiang Yu also spread to the Southern Mountains sect. The geniuses of the Southern Mountains sect were shocked. They didn't think that Ning Beixian, who used to rank first on the earthly immortal ranking, would come to planet Southern Mountains. Many geniuses were worried that Ning Qi would come to challenge them. She was gorgeous. He had fought against Xiang Yu many times, and every time he lost, he would be at a disadvantage. At first, he thought that he was only a little bit weaker than Xiang Yu. This caused Mo Qingqing to cultivate very hard, wanting to make up for this little bit of difference. But after fighting a few more times, he discovered that all of this was due to Xiang Yu. This meant that the gap between him and Xiang Yu wasn't just a little. It was also because of this that he thought of asking the sect's golden immortals to go to the Ji family together to propose marriage. He wanted to use this opportunity to settle the matter. Sir Jiang, is Ning Beixian really that strong? With Xiang Yu's strength, even an early-stage golden immortal might not be able to defeat him empty-handed, Mo Qingqing said with a complicated expression. Jiang Kun remained silent for a moment and said flatly, "I'm not too sure about Ning Beixian's actual strength, but there was news recently that he had slain a Grand Luo with a single slash on the homeworld, I know. He killed Jiang Wei with a single arrow. I'm sure it's not just us on planet South Peak. Immortals from other planets know about this as well." Mo Qingqing glanced at Jiang Kun. "Wrong, it's a sword, not an arrow. What he used was a sword art. Without the immortal bow, he used an ordinary sword to cut off the head of a Grand Luo. That Grand Luo's spirit was shattered as well, not even having the chance to reincarnate," Jiang Kun said quietly. Hiss! Mo Qingqing sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Jiang Kun in disbelief. What kind of existence is this Ning Beixian? A perfected heavenly immortal killing a Grand Luo with a single strike? This is really unheard of. Jiang Gongfen, logically speaking, you should know him well. I used to think I knew him very well. Jiang Kun looked up at the sky, looking in the direction of the ancestral star. He paused for a moment. "Young Master Mo, it's best if you don't go to the Ji clan for the time being. Don't look for trouble with Ning Beixian either. Otherwise, even the sect master might be killed. I can't accept this." Mo Qingqing clenched her fists tightly before loosening them and sighing helplessly. "Didn't you say that young Master Xiang Yu had an extraordinary background and was accepted as a direct disciple by a powerful figure?" He left planet South Peak this time, and I believe it won't be long before he returns. Jiang Kuan said lightly. Oh, I understand. Mo Qingqing looked at Jiang Kuan as the corners of her lips curled up. Yun Fei went there again? Ji Tianyun looked at Kong Wenyue. Kong Wenyu smiled bitterly and nodded. This girl. Ji Tianyun felt helpless. Ji Tianyun felt a bit helpless, but then he changed his mind and said, You said? Ning Beishuan's talent and combat ability are far better than Xiang Yu's. Maybe it's not a bad choice for Yun Fei to marry him? Kong Wenyue rolled her eyes at Ji Tianyun. If my sister comes crying, can you bear it? Besides, Xiang Yu's master is extremely powerful. My sister once revealed that he's a grand unity true immortal. With such a background, no matter how strong Ning Beixian is, he can't compare to him, right? I'm afraid of Xiang Yu now. This child is not convinced. If he calls his master over, won't our Ji family be in a disadvantageous position? I think Ning Beixian is quite pleasing to the eye. Why don't I personally persuade him to leave planet South Peak? I've mentioned it a few times these days, but he pretended not to hear me. Does he really have some feelings for Yunfei? Ji Tianyun said. Don't you know that he asked Yunfei to look for the powerful figures that appeared on planet South Peak a while ago? I think that's why he doesn't want to leave. Kong Wenyue said. Ji Tianyun's eyes flickered. Why is Ning Qi looking for those powerful figures? Do they know each other? Thinking of this, Ji Tianyun immediately said, Tell the Ji clan's disciples outside to look for them. If there's any news, report to me immediately. Although Ji Yunfei's status in Ji clan was quite high, she was still a bit inferior to Ji Tianyun's methods. Once Ji Tianyun's order was given, the Ji clan's disciples scattered outside immediately operated like a machine, and news came back like snow. Young Master Ning, thank you for showing mercy this time. I can tell that cousin's sneak attack at the end made you want to kill him. Ji Yunfei bowed to Ning Qi with a sincere expression. If Xiang Yu really died in Ning Qi's hands, she might be sad for a while, but only for a while. However, her mother would be sad for a long time, and her aunt would be even sadder. Ji Yunfei wasn't afraid of Xiang Yu's death, but of her two closest relatives, the white-haired old man. The reason why the black-haired man had begged Ning Qi not to kill him was because he had sent the black-haired man to the arena. You can tell that I want to kill him? Ning Qi smiled. Yes. Ji Yunfei nodded. He's lucky. For your sake, I spared his life. How are you going to repay me? Ning Qi smiled. Devote yourself to me? Ji Yunfei asked tentatively. Ning Qi looked at Ji Yunfei helplessly. What about the news I want? It's been so long, and your Ji clan still hasn't found any clues? No matter where those powerful figures go, they should be as eye-catching as lanterns in the night. Oh, speaking of this news, there is indeed, but I didn't have time to tell you just now. Ji Yunfei looked at Ning Qi innocently. However, she was still secretly unhappy that Ning Qi had just refused her confession. There's news? Where? Ning Qi's eyes moved slightly. Nanhua City. A few days ago, someone sent a message saying that he saw 3 women and a man in Nanhua City, but the relationship between them seemed very strange. The man had been following the 3 women, seemingly wanting to take something from them, but he didn't dare to make a move. Ji Yunfei said, Nanhua City? Is it the territory of the Nanhua clan? Ning Qi said, Yes, it's Nanhua City under the Nanhua clan. Ji Yunfei smiled and nodded. Chapter 2643. Ning Qi looked at Ji Yunfei, and after a few moments of consideration, he shook his head. It's too dangerous. You should stay in the Ji family. Dangerous? Ji Yunfei was stunned. Why would it be dangerous? Don't tell me those almighties are going to attack me? After a pause, Ji Yunfei looked at Ning Qi with a hint of suspicion in her eyes. Mr. Ning, you don't know those powerful people, do you? Ning Qi smiled and waved his hand. With a slight movement of his body, he disappeared from Ji Yunfei's sight. Ji Yunfei looked around helplessly. After confirming that Ning Qi had left, she immediately set off for Southern Peak City. Just as she left the courtyard, Ji Yunfei was stopped by Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue. Ji Tianyun glanced at the courtyard. His divine telekinesis could no longer detect Ning Qi's presence. He said to Ji Yunfei, "Yunfei, has Mr. Ning received the news and gone to Southern Peak City?" "Father, how did you know?" Ji Yunfei looked at Ji Tianyun in surprise. Then she realized. "I was wondering why there was so much news recently." "Father, did you take action?" "Of course. Don't go to Southern Peak City. The powerful people are temperamental. Who knows what will happen?" Ji Tianyun smiled. "Yes. During this time, stay at home. Don't run around. You were tricked by Jin Yujing last time. Don't you know how to restrain yourself?" Kong Wenyue nodded in agreement. Ji Yunfei immediately knew that her father and mother had already made preparations. Otherwise, they would not have appeared here immediately after Ning Qi left. "All right." Ji Yunfei thought about it and nodded helplessly. Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue looked at each other and saw the suspicion in each other's eyes. How could their daughter be so obedient? After Ning Qi left the Ji family, he asked a few passers-by for directions to Southern Peak City and headed there at full speed. Southern Peak Planet was almost half the size of the homeworld, and it took Ning Qi more than 10 days to reach Southern Peak City. Compared to Sacred Ji City, Southern Peak City was more than 10 times bigger. No wonder Ji Yunfei said it was not easy to find someone in Southern Peak City. Without the use of divine sense, trying to find a few people in Southern Peak City would be as difficult as finding a needle in a haystack. However, with Jiang Yu's strength, he would naturally be able to sense something like divine sense. "Young Master Ning, your speed is a bit slow." Just as he passed the interrogation of the city gate guards and entered Southern Peak City, he saw Ji Yunfei, Ji Wei, Ji Fei, Ji Fengxian, and 7 or 8 other Ji family disciples smiling at Ning Qi. A hint of shock flashed through Ning Qi's eyes. He then sighed and said, "Your Ji clan has a teleportation formation that leads directly to Southern Peak City." Ji Yunfei originally wanted to act mysterious in front of Ning Qi, but when she saw that Ning Qi had guessed the method they used to reach Southern Peak City so quickly, she immediately looked disappointed. If young Master Ning had walked a bit slower at that time, he would have been able to take the teleportation array with us, and we wouldn't have wasted more than 10 days on the road. Ji Yunfei said, "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Ning Qi said helplessly, "How did he know that the Ji family had a teleportation array that led directly to Southern Peak City?" "Big Brother Ning, don't you know? As long as the sects or families on planet Nan you are as strong as our Ji family, the Southern Mountains sect will allow them to set up a teleportation array in Nanyu City. This will make it easier for us to communicate with each other. After all, the Southern Mountains sect often holds some grand ceremonies. Without a teleportation array, we would have to waste several months every time." Ji Wei said with a smile. "Since you've reached Southern Peak City first, do you have any news about the people I'm looking for?" Ning Qi said. Ji Yunfei shook her head. "There's no news yet." Ning Qi heard this and nodded. He wasn't in a hurry. Since Jian Shilai and the others had appeared here some time ago, there was a high chance that they hadn't left yet. Starting from the immortal prison, he had found this place step by step. The distance between him and Jian Shilai and the others was getting closer and closer. "Miss Yunfei." Suddenly, 3 figures walked over. Behind these 3 figures, there was a large group of people with cultivations ranging from the early to the great circle of the Earth immortal realm. The gazes of the passers-by were all drawn over. "Big Brother Ning, they are the other 3 of the 4 great young masters of Southern Peak sect. They also have some thoughts about cousin Yunfei, but because of Mo Qingqing and young master Xiangyue, they rarely come to our Ji family these years." Ji Fengxian glanced at the 3 of them and transmitted her voice to Ning Qi. Ning Qi indifferently nodded his head. The cultivation bases of these three people were inferior to Mo Qinqing by a single level. Yet, they were able to be called the four young nobles together with Mo Qinqing. Thinking about it, outsiders probably didn't understand this point. "It's you guys," Ji Yunfei nodded helplessly. When she had just arrived at Southern Peak City with Ji Wei and the others, they had been seen by the three. She thought that she had shaken them off today, but she didn't expect them to still persevere and follow them. Mo Qinqing, on the other hand, had never appeared again after the proposal failed. Even when she arrived at Southern Peak City, Mo Qinqing didn't show up. This made Ji Yunfei heave a sigh of relief. After the three people greeted Ji Yunfei, they looked at Ning Qi. They knew that Ji Yunfei spent most of her time near the city gate. She seemed to be waiting for someone. They thought it would be a disciple of the Ji family, but they didn't expect it to be a stranger they had never seen before. Because Ji Tianyun had purposely suppressed the news, the outside world didn't know that Ning Qi had competed with Xiang Yu. No one knew that Ning Beixian, who used to rank first on the earthly immortal ranking, had appeared at Southern Peak City. When the three saw that Ji Yunfei was waiting for a man, their expressions immediately became strange. They were naturally interested in Ji Yunfei. Back then, they secretly competed with Mo Qinqing. Later, Xiang Yu appeared and beat the three of them up. The three of them only stopped fighting in recent years, but this time, Ji Yunfei took the initiative. When they came to Southern Peak City, Mo Qinqing didn't seem to show up, and they didn't see Xiang Yu either. This naturally reignited the fire of hope in them. They wanted to take this opportunity to get closer to Ji Yunfei. "Miss Yunfei, may I know who this brother is?" The three looked at each other and asked. The Southern Mountains sect disciples behind them also looked at Ning Qi with curiosity and a hint of hostility. Although Ning Qi's cultivation was clearly higher than theirs, their gazes were still filled with judgment. After all, the Southern Mountains sect was the greatest sect on Southern Mountain Planet. As disciples of the Southern Mountains sect, as disciples of the Southern Peak sect, they naturally had a sense of superiority. Wu Yin of the Mystic Sword sect of the Ancestral Star greets the three of you. Ning Qi smiled and cupped his hands. Ji Wei and the others were slightly stunned. They looked at each other and kept quiet. Chapter 2644. Yeah. Ning Qi smiled and nodded. The three of them laughed awkwardly. They had originally planned to cause trouble for Ning Qi, but in the end, the sect that the other party came from was even stronger than the Southern Mountains sect that they were from, and the three of them did not have a father like Mo Qinqing as their backer. Seeing that, Ji Yunfei perfunctorily replied to the three of them, then quickly left with Ning Qi and the others. "This disciple of the Xianjian sect, I'm afraid he also has some feelings for Miss Yunfei. Mo Qinqing, Xiang Yu, and then there's Xianjian sect's Wu Yin. It's really lively. Forget it." The three of them looked at the backs of Ning Qi and the others and shook their heads helplessly. The Ji clan had their own small courtyard in Southern Mountain City, and there was more than one. Ji Yunfei had brought Ning Qi and the others to live in a small courtyard closest to the center of Southern Mountain City. This place is located in the center of Southern Mountain City, so it's easier to gather information. As long as there's news of those supreme experts, we'll be able to know immediately. Ji Yunfei smiled at Ning Qi. "Thank you, Miss Yunfei. Continue to gather information. I'll go out for a walk." Ning Qi cupped his hands. "I'll go with you," Ji Yunfei said. "How can that be? I've already discovered that many young talents in Southern Mountains Planet have the appearance of marrying no one but you. If you wander around with me, I'm afraid you won't be able to walk out of this street." Ning Qi said with a smile that was not a smile. "I'm not that pretty either. How would I know?" Ji Yunfei muttered. "How old are you?" Ning Qi suddenly asked. I'm about 1,000 years old." Ji Yunfei's face turned slightly red. 1,000 years old sky immortal perfection, no wonder, A look of bewilderment flashed in Ning Qi's eyes. Being able to cultivate to the peak of the heavenly immortal realm at such a young age, and even had the backing of an ordinary Ji clan, if she didn't have any fortuitous encounters, it was enough to prove that Ji Yunfei's cultivation talent was extremely monstrous. In the end, Ning Qi still went out alone. Under his strong request, Ji Yunfei stayed in the courtyard. At the same time, Xiang Yu, who had left planet Southern Peak for more than 10 days, reappeared. This time, an old man appeared with him. The old man's aura was extremely mysterious. The moment he appeared in the Yunhua sect, he shocked the Yunhua sect's sect leader, Xiang Yu's biological father, who rushed over. Accompanying him was a beautiful woman who looked extremely similar to Kong Wenyue. Xiang Nanda greets Senior. Kong Wenxing greets Senior. No need for formalities. The old man waved his hand calmly, and Xiang Nandu and Kong Wenxing were lifted up by a force. Seeing that Xiang Yu's complexion was much better than before, the two heaved a sigh of relief. The last time Xiang Yu fought with Ning Qi, she had used the heaven-illuminating bloody hand and had consumed a lot of her blood essence, which worried the two. Xiang Yu is my most valued disciple. He has a chance to inherit my mantle in the future, but he was forced to use the heaven-illuminating bloody hand and lost 90% of his blood essence. If he wants to inherit my mantle in the future, he'll have to put in more effort. I'm here this time to see the person who once ranked first on the earthly immortal ranking, Ning Beixian. Who is Ning Beixian? How can he be so arrogant? I heard that he's a guest of the Ji family. The Ji family has a good relationship with your Yunhua sect. For the sake of Xiang Yu and the two of you, I won't go to the Ji family. Let Ning Beixian meet me at the Yunhua sect. The old man said calmly. Hearing this, Xiang Nandu and Kong Wenxing were a little happy. The old man's actions meant that he valued their son very much. However, the two of them had a troubled look on their faces. Xiang Nanda said respectfully, Senior, Ning Beixian has already left the Ji clan. Left the Ji clan? The old man frowned slightly. A vicious look flashed across Xiang Yu's eyes. She gritted her teeth and said, He must be afraid. That's why he fled in a hurry. It doesn't matter. How far can he run? The old man smiled mockingly. Then, he grabbed Xiang Yu's shoulder and said to Xiang Nandu and Kong Wenxing, I'll go with Xiang Yu to the Ji clan and ask. Before the two of them could speak, the old man and Xiang Yu disappeared on the spot. Husband, will this matter implicate the Ji clan? Kong Wenxing was a little worried. After all, her sister was the first madam of the Ji clan. If the Ji clan was implicated, she would feel bad. Xiang Nandu shook his head with a smile. Xiang Yu's master knows what he's doing, so he won't make things difficult for the Ji clan. However, Xiang Yu was injured in the Ji clan this time. I think it's reasonable for Ji Tianyun to be afraid. That's true. Kong Wenxing nodded. In fact, she was also a little dissatisfied with Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue. After all, her son was forced to use the heaven-illuminating bloody hand at the Ji clan this time, which consumed 90% of his blood essence. This would affect his future cultivation speed. Ji clan. Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue were angry because Ji Yunfei used the clan's teleportation array without permission and secretly went to the Southern Peak City. They called a few elders and prepared to go to the Southern Peak City to bring Ji Yunfei back. After all, there were suspected to be powerful figures in the Southern Peak City. Who knew what these powerful figures were doing in the Southern Peak planet? Was it? They were afraid that Ji Yunfei would be involved in this matter. Of course, they also didn't want Ji Yunfei to have more contact with Ning Qi. When Ji Tianyun and the others all walked into the teleportation array and the teleportation array was about to be activated, a terrifying aura descended from the sky and directly grabbed them out. The teleportation array that had been activated halfway was instantly shut down. Everyone was suddenly shocked. Who had such means to abruptly interrupt the teleportation array? Xiang Yu. When Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue saw Xiang Yu, they immediately understood and looked at the old man with a hint of respect. At the same time, there was a trace of worry in their hearts. They didn't expect Xiang Yu to really call for reinforcements and even her backer. Just because of a battle? For the first time, the two felt that Xiang Yu was a bit too narrow-minded. However, Xiang Yu was taken away when he was born and only returned to the southern peak planet 50 to 60 years ago. They didn't have much contact with Xiang Yu. If they had known this kid's temperament, they would have stopped him from fighting with Ning Qi no matter what. You are Ji Tianyun? The old man said lightly. Ji Tianyun bowed respectfully and said, I am Ji Tianyun. Greetings, senior. The old man nodded. I have some relations with the main branch's patriarch. Let's not waste time today. That Ning Beixian who injured my disciple, where did he go? This, a hint of hesitation flashed in Ji Tianyun's eyes. Uncle, Aunt Kong, Master is just curious about how strong Brother Ning's cultivation is. He doesn't mean anything else. Xiang Yu smiled. Kong Wenyue glanced at Ji Tianyun and whispered, he went to the southern peak city. Seemingly surprised that Ning Qi didn't leave the southern peak planet, the old man glanced at the teleportation array. This teleportation array leads to the southern peak city, right? Yes. Ji Tianyun nodded helplessly in his heart. Chapter 2645. Patriarch Southern Peak is personally hosting a banquet at Southern Peak Tower today. The street is so crowded right now. I heard Wei Gongqi is here. What? Is that so? Why would the number one on the Golden Immortal list come to planet Southern Peak? You don't know, do you? Rumor has it that Patriarch Southern Peak was once from a famous sect in the Langya Immortal Domain, the same sect as Wei Gongqi. Why wouldn't he come to see senior brother when he passed by planet Southern Peak? Then, has the entire Southern Mountain Tower been booked? Outsiders aren't allowed in? No, Patriarch Southern Peak isn't that domineering. Other than the top floor, everything else is the same as usual. However, it's destined that there won't be any seats left today. Everyone is rushing towards the Southern Peak Tower, wanting to catch a glimpse of Patriarch Southern Peak and the number one on the ranking of Golden Immortals. Ning Qi's ears twitched. He immediately looked in the direction where the Immortals were flocking to. He saw an extremely tall tower in the distance. It could be seen even through the eaves. That must be Southern Peak Tower. For it to be named like that, the relationship between this tower and the Southern Peak sect was self-evident. Young Master Ning, what are you waiting for? I've received news that those powerhouses have appeared at the Southern Mountain Tower. Ji Yunfei, together with Ji Wei and the others, suddenly appeared behind Ning Qi. Ji Yunfei then pulled Ning Qi's arm and rushed towards the Southern Peak Tower. I heard that Patriarch Southern Peak is also hosting a banquet for the number one on the Golden Immortal list, Wei Gongqi. What kind of dog*T luck has planet Southern Peak gotten to see the number one on the Earth Immortal list and the number one on the Golden Immortal list at the same time? Ji Wei said excitedly as he walked quickly. Ji Fengxian and the rest were a little excited as well. However, Wei Gongqi did not belong to their generation. He was a prodigy of Ji Tianyun's generation. Therefore, they were more excited when they saw Ning Qi. Then they thought about it. Ning Qi had once killed a grand heavenly prodigy with one arrow. If a grand heavenly prodigy fought against Wei Gongqi, who would win? Thinking of this, their expressions became even more excited. The street where the Southern Peak Tower was located was very wide, but at that moment it was filled with a sea of people. Countless immortals stood on both sides of the street, looking up at the top floor of the Southern Peak Tower. From time to time, immortals would walk out of the Southern Peak Tower with a look of disappointment. Because they had arrived late, there were no more seats inside. Ji Yunfei pulled Ning Qi and the rest into the Southern Peak Inn. At this moment, a waiter at the entrance waved his hand and said, There are no more seats inside, please return. Little Fool's cultivation wasn't high. He was only an early worldly immortal stage cultivator. However, he seemed rather arrogant. This kind of arrogance wasn't something that could be cultivated in a short period of time. No seats? I'm Ji Yunfei from the Ji family. Our Ji family always has a few private rooms in the Southern Mountain restaurant. Ji Yunfei frowned. Ji Yunfei of the Ji family? The waiter was taken aback, then changed his expression and cupped his hands at Ji Yunfei and the rest. Miss Ji, please enter. When the immortals outside saw this, a trace of envy appeared on their faces. Families or sects with golden immortals like the Ji family did indeed have a few reserved seats in the Southern Peak Tower all year round. It was considered a special privilege, but second-class families and sects didn't have this privilege. The waiter led Ning Qi and the rest up to the 5th floor. During this process, Ning Qi kept looking at the surrounding customers out of the corner of his eyes, but he didn't see Jian Shilai, the 3 women, or Jiang Yu. When they reached the 5th floor, Ning Qi realized that this place was different from the 4 floors below. Be it the tables or chairs, they were all very exquisite. The kind that looked very luxurious, but Ning Qi realized that there were no empty seats on this floor. Ji Yunfei frowned and looked at a few private rooms by the window, not far away. Those were supposed to be exclusive to the Ji family. Even if they were usually full, they shouldn't be occupied. But at this moment, there were several sky immortals sitting in those seats. One of them was even a golden immortal. To Ji Yunfei, this group of people was unfamiliar, and they didn't dress like people from planet Southern Peak. How did our Ji family's seat get taken by someone else? Ji Yunfei looked at the waiter and asked calmly. Miss Ji, that's a golden immortal senior. He brought a few juniors to planet Southern Peak and happened to run into Patriarch Southern Peak's esteemed guest. Seeing that there were no more seats available, he took your Ji family's seat. I did warn you, but he's a golden immortal senior after all, the waiter said hesitantly. Ning Qi saw that the waiter's eyes were dodging. He probably gave up his seat to those people, hoping to get a chance. Is that so? A trace of suspicion flashed in Ji Yunfei's eyes. Then, she ignored the waiter and led the group to the golden immortal. Little girl, what's the matter? The golden immortal looked at Ji Yunfei with a faint smile. The conversation between Ji Yunfei and the waiter was neither loud nor soft. Everyone could hear it clearly. The waiter's attitude clearly showed that he already knew the answer. The celestial immortals sitting behind the golden immortal also looked at Ji Yunfei, Ning Qi, and the others with a mocking expression. They knew about the Ji family, but in their eyes the Ji family was not that great. They only had one Ji Tianyun in charge. Compared with the sects they came from, the Ji family was far inferior. This is our Ji family's seat. Senior, please make way. Ji Yunfei said calmly. Your Ji family's name isn't written on it. How did it become your Ji family's seat? Young lady, Southern Peak Tower is very busy today. There are no seats left. Come back another day. The golden immortal said with a smile. Ha ha! The few heaven immortals nearby let out a burst of light laughter. Seeing this, Ji Wei and the others immediately revealed a hint of anger in their eyes. The waiter's eyes flashed with a hint of schadenfreude. He walked forward and said to Ji Yunfei, Miss Ji, why don't you give these seats to this senior and the others? I'll find another one for you. His seat? From the 1st floor to the 4th floor, I might have a way to free up a few seats for you. With that, the waiter even looked at the golden immortal with a flattering look. When Ji Yunfei and the others heard this, they couldn't suppress the anger in their hearts. It was originally their Ji family's seat, but it was taken by an outsider. Now, even the waiter was on the outsider's side. How could they tolerate this? Unfortunately, facing a golden immortal, no matter how angry they were, they didn't dare to make a move. This feeling of anger was really unbearable. At this moment, a voice slowly sounded. You sat in his seat. He asked you to make way. This is courtesy, right? Ji Yunfei and the others all looked at Ning Qi with a hint of joy in their eyes. With Ning Qi here, even if it was a golden immortal, they wouldn't have to be too afraid, right? The golden immortal looked at Ning Qi and said with a faint smile, "Then what about impoliteness? Are you going to make a move to drive us away?" The diners on the 5th floor all looked over, as if they were watching a show. Chapter 2646. Everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment. The atmosphere gradually froze, and even their breathing became somewhat irregular. What was going on? A dignified golden immortal was actually kicked away by a fellow who looked like a heaven immortal? The waiter was stunned. The celestial immortals brought by the golden immortal were also stunned. They looked at Ning Qi with a hint of bewilderment in their eyes. "Big Brother Ning is mighty." Ji Wei couldn't help but shout. "Mighty!" Ji Fei and the others immediately shouted. "Is this an expert that came to Ji Clan as a guest?" Everyone's eyes flickered with uncertainty. At the same time, an angry roar came from outside. "How dare you!" A sword light flashed. Almost no one could see Ning Qi's sword clearly from the moment he drew it out to the moment he sheathed it. But the roar from outside suddenly stopped. Then, the golden immortal flew back into the cave and looked at Ning Qi in horror. Everyone realized that his right arm was gone, and blood was flowing out continuously. "Elderly!" The rest of the heavenly immortals stood up and looked at the scene in shock. "What happened? Didn't that golden immortal get kicked? How did he lose an arm? Where's his arm? Wait a minute. I think I sensed him drawing his sword. It can't be." Among the diners on the 5th floor, the one with the lowest cultivation base was at least an early heaven immortal. There were also a few golden immortal experts who had been silent all this while. At this moment, all of them were looking at Ning Qi in shock and disbelief. If Ning Qi had really drawn his sword just now, the speed of that sword would be extremely fast. He was afraid that it had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Little Fool's heart was already filled with regret, but since it had already happened, he could only secretly pray that today's matter would have a better ending. "Who are you?" Looking at Ning Qi, the golden immortal's eyes gradually turned solemn, but he had no intention of taking action. "Scram! If you don't scram, the next sword strike will cut off your head, not your hand." Ning Qi smiled. The golden immortal didn't expect that Ning Qi not only didn't tell him his name, but also insulted him like this. His eyes flashed with anger, but his reason told him that if he attacked today, he would most likely be the one to die. So, he suppressed his anger and left Ning Qi a sentence before leaving. "Tiangu. I, Li Bingxian of the Profound Azure Mansion, have the honor of learning from you today. May the mountains never change, and the rivers never stop flowing." Profound Azure Mansion? Everyone took in a breath of cold air, even Ji Yunfei and the others glanced at each other. A trace of worry could be seen in their eyes. The Profound Azure Mansion was an extremely famous power in the heavenly ancient immortal realms. It wasn't a sect, but it was more powerful than a sect. The Mansion Lord of the Profound Azure Mansion controlled countless forces, and he himself was a Tai true immortal. Even the Southern Mountains sect was not as powerful as any of the weaker forces under the Profound Azure Mansion. "Wait," Ning Qi said lightly. Li Bingxian turned around and sneered at Ning Qi. In his opinion, Ning Qi was afraid. Even if he was facing a Grand Luo immortal, the other party would be afraid of him if he said the name of the Profound Azure Mansion, let alone Perfected Heaven Immortal. "Why, do you want to tell me your name?" Li Bingxian's mouth curved slightly, a trace of mockery could be seen in his eyes. "Even Li Si wouldn't dare to tell me that the mountains never change, and the rivers never stop flowing. You're just an early golden immortal, how dare you say such a thing to me?" Ning Qi looked at Li Bingxian and said, "Li Si." Li Bingxian looked at Ning Qi with a trace of surprise in his eyes. The other heaven immortals also looked at each other and saw a trace of shock in each other's eyes. Who is Li Si? I'm not too sure, but I know that the profound Azure Mansion's mansion lord's surname is Li. Wait, I remember, the profound Azure Mansion's mansion lord has a son. He was very talented since he was a child. He was already a great Luo golden immortal at such a young age. I heard that even our old ancestor Nan Yu is no match for him, right? One of the customers seemed to know Li Si's background. When he thought of what Ning Qi had just said, he looked at Ning Qi with a hint of fear in his eyes. Ji Yunfei and the others looked at each other. They were worried that the profound Azure Mansion would retaliate against the Ji family, but now it seemed that the situation was a bit different. Could it be that Li Si that big brother Ning mentioned is a high-ranking member of the profound Azure Mansion? Ji Wei and the others looked at Ning Qi expectantly. The Li Si that you mentioned is my young master? Li Bingxian was shocked. He suddenly became a little cautious. Li Si is the young master of the profound Azure Mansion? When everyone heard this from Li Bingxian's mouth, the way they looked at Ning Qi suddenly changed. From the way Ning Qi talked, it seemed that he didn't even put the young master of the profound Azure Mansion in his eyes. What is this guy's background? The waiter's face became extremely pale, cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Is there a second Li Si in your profound Azure Mansion? Ning Qi smiled. Li Bingxian's heart skipped a beat. He felt that today it was very likely that he kicked a real iron plate, not the kind of iron plate that had higher cultivation than him, but the iron plate that had stronger cultivation and background than him. Otherwise, how could this guy dare to call Li Si by his name? And there was a trace of disdain in his tone. May I ask your name, sir? I have offended you today, please forgive me. Li Bingxian immediately lowered his posture and asked. The sky immortals that he brought with him didn't dare to look at Ning Qi with disrespect. A sword light flashed. This time everyone finally saw clearly that Li Bingxian's other arm was cut off on the spot and fell to the ground. However, they still couldn't see the trajectory of Ning Qi's sword. Get lost, Ning Qi said with a smile. Li Bingxian's face was pale. Compared to anger, he was more frightened. His opponent didn't even give face to the profound Azure Mansion. His body exuded the aura of a peak sky immortal, and his sword skill was so amazing, he was afraid that his background was no weaker than the profound Azure Mansion. Thinking of this, Li Bingxian didn't dare to get angry. He picked up the arm without saying a word, turned around and left. The group of sky immortals that came with him didn't dare to say anything. They all followed behind Li Bingxian and left through the hole. Everyone, please sit down, please sit down. Chapter 2647. Mr. Ning, is that Li Si really the young master of profound Azure Mansion? Have you seen him before? Ji Yunfei asked curiously. Yes, back in Ancestral Star. Ning Qi smiled. Wait. Big brother Ning, our Ji clan's main bloodline's genius, Ji Shan, seems to be in the Ancestral Star as well. Ji Wei suddenly remembered something and looked at Ning Qi excitedly. When Ji Fengxian and the others heard this, they immediately became interested. Although they were very curious about Ning Qi before, in comparison, Ji Shan's position in their hearts was also extremely high. Since they were young, they knew that the Ji family they were in was only a branch of the real Ji family. There was an insignificant branch that had received the legacy. The founding ancestor of the Ji family had been a marginal member of the main bloodline who had not been able to cultivate the true cultivation methods of the Ji family. Therefore, they were more interested in a genius from the main bloodline like Ji Shan. I have seen him before. Ning Qi smiled. Amazing! Everyone looked at each other and couldn't help but exclaim. Then, they looked at Ning Qi with envy. Suddenly, Ji Fengxian said, compared to profound Azure Mansion's young master Li Si, isn't Ji Shan a little stronger? When everyone heard this, they all looked at Ning Qi, hoping to get an answer from him. Ning Qi smiled and said, Ji Shan's natural talent is indeed very strong, but compared to Li Si, he's still a level weaker. What? Ji Fengxian and the others didn't believe it, but Ning Qi didn't look like he was teasing them, so they were a little disappointed. Are you sure they are in Southern Mountain Tower? Ning Qi looked at Ji Yunfei and said. Ji Yunfei nodded. According to the information, they are sitting on the 6th floor. Every floor of Southern Peak Tower was at least 150 feet tall, and there were a total of 7 floors. Normally, the 7th floor was not open to the public. Only when Patriarch Southern Peak visited would it be opened. Normally, being able to sit on the 6th floor was already a symbol of one's status. This was because there were only 7 or 8 seats on the 6th floor. At this moment, an existence that looked like a shopkeeper trotted over. He respectfully inquired about the cause of the matter, and then ordered his men to repair the broken wooden wall. During this time, he secretly sized up Ning Qi from the corner of his eyes, as if he was secretly guessing Ning Qi's origins. Thank you for your hospitality today, senior brother. I have a master's order, I can't stay here for long. A voice came from the stairs. Then I won't keep you any longer, come visit me when you have time. Another deep and resounding voice sounded. Everyone's expressions changed slightly as they looked towards the staircase. They knew that it was the voices of Patriarch Nan Yu and the number 1 on the Golden Immortal Leaderboard, Wei Gang. They saw old ancestor Nan Yu and a much younger cultivator coming down side by side, followed by a large group of Southern Mountain sect elders and geniuses. When they arrived at the stairs of the 5th floor, old ancestor Nan Yu and Wei Gang saw someone repairing the wooden wall, and they frowned. At the same time, Mo Qingqing, who was standing not far behind them, also saw Ning Qi and Ji Yunfei. When he saw Ning Qi and Ji Yunfei sitting together, the jealousy in his heart couldn't be suppressed. His gaze swept past Wei Gangqi, and with a thought, he suddenly stepped forward and cupped his hands towards Wei Gangqi. In our Southern Mountain Tower, there is another Heavenly Dao rankings number 1. Do you want to get to know him? Jiang Kuan, who was standing beside Mo Qingqing, also saw Ning Qi, but he didn't have time to stop Mo Qingqing. His expression turned ugly. Wei Gang was stunned, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. There is another Heavenly Dao rankings number 1 in Southern Mountain Tower? I should say that he was once number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking, right, Brother Ning? Mo Qingqing smiled and looked at Ning Qi. Old ancestor Nan Yu and Wei Gang immediately looked at Ning Qi. The others were also shocked. This guy was number 1 on the Heavenly Dao ranking? Which ranking was that? Brother Ning? Wei Gang's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Ning Qi with interest. Among the number 1 on the Heavenly Dao ranking, there is only one person with the surname Ning. That is Ning Beixian, who was number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking. Number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking, Ning Beixian? The immortals behind old ancestor Nan Yu and the customers on the 5th floor looked at Ning Qi with a strange expression. The latter saw Ning Qi easily sever the arms of an early-stage golden immortal. Now that Wei Gang had revealed his identity, other than shock, he also had a hint of realization. However, they felt that something was strange. Ning Beixian was number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking not long ago. How did he suddenly become a peak-stage heavenly immortal? This doesn't make sense, right? But some people finally understood why Ning Qi only stayed on the Earth Immortal ranking for such a short period of time. It turned out that he wasn't dead, but had become a heavenly immortal. I have heard of Brother Wei's great name for a long time. Ning Qi smiled, stood up, and cupped his hands. Brother Wei? Although Ning Qi was once number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking, and now that he had become a peak-stage heavenly immortal, there was still a huge gap between him and Wei Gang, who was number 1 on the Golden Immortal ranking. How dare he be so arrogant and address them as peers? The immortals of the Southern Mountains sect frowned in slight displeasure, but the Southern Mountains Patriarch's expression was rather somber. Others would only consider these apparent identities, but he knew of Ning Chi's feats back on the homeworld. He was a monster who could kill a grand Luo prodigy like Jiang Wei with a single arrow, and Wei Gang. There was nothing wrong with addressing Wei Gang as peers. Wei Gang understood this as well. He smiled nonchalantly and walked to Ning Chi, cupped his hands and said, "I didn't expect to see Brother Ning after passing through planet Nanyu. This trip was not in vain." After a pause, he looked at old ancestor Nanyu. "Senior brother, I will stay one more day on planet Nanyu before leaving. How can I not have a few drinks with a genius like Brother Ning?" "All right." Patriarch Nanyu smiled and nodded. At the same time, he looked at Ning Chi and said, "Little friend Ning, I didn't know that you came to planet Nanyu. This is my fault, so let me be the host and entertain you." When the crowd saw how old ancestor Nanyu and Wei Gang treated Ning Chi so warmly, the way they looked at Ning Chi changed drastically. Mo Qingqing, who had wanted to use Wei Gang's status as number 1 on the Golden Immortal ranking to take Ning Chi down a notch, stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before her. She suddenly regretted it. "It's so lively, why don't this old man join in as well?" A voice sounded from the staircase, and then an old man slowly walked up. Behind him were Xiang Yu, Ji Yunfei, Kong Wenyue, and the others. As soon as the old man appeared, the entire southern peak tower was sealed off by an extremely terrifying aura. Chapter 2648. Wei Gongqi really didn't know who the old man was, but ancestor Nan Yu and Ji Yunfei guessed something from Xiang Yu who was behind the old man. Could this be cousin Xiang Yu's master? Ji Yunfei stared blankly at the old man, then at Xiang Yu who was smiling and looking at Ning Chi. Her expression gradually turned ugly. She didn't think that Xiang Yu would actually invite his backer over. Isn't this a little too narrow-minded? But when Ji Yunfei saw Ji Tianyun and Kong Wenyue, she let out a long sigh of relief. She felt that with them here today, the situation wouldn't be too ugly. "My name? Haha, I've lived for too long, I've forgotten." The old man smiled. Lived for too long, forgot? He probably didn't want to tell them. Everyone's expression suddenly became extremely strange. But the old man's aura was too mysterious, so they couldn't feel angry at all. Instead, they felt that it was only natural. This is Xiang Yu's master? With such a master, his achievements in the future will definitely be much higher than mine. Mo Qingqing looked at the old man, then at Xiang Yu with a flash of jealousy. He had heard that Xiang Yu was once accepted as a personal disciple by a supreme expert, but it was only today that he confirmed it with his own eyes. After a while of jealousy, Mo Qingqing suddenly thought of Xiang Yu and his master today. Maybe there was a deeper meaning to coming here. Thinking of this, Mo Qingqing couldn't help but look at Ning Chi, a little anticipation in his heart. Ji Tianyun and his wife saw that Ji Yunfei was indeed with Ning Chi, and they couldn't help but show a trace of worry in their eyes. "Master, this is Ning Beixian, the former number 1 on the Earth Immortal ranking." Xiang Yu took a step forward, glanced at Ning Chi, and then cupped his hands towards the old man. His aura seemed to be the same as before, but only he and the old man knew that it would take a long time to recover the blood essence he lost last time. "Oh, you're Ning Beixian." The old man's gaze fell on Ning Chi, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. "Senior, what can I do for you?" Ning Chi smiled and cupped his hands. "Not bad, not bad." The old man suddenly praised Ning Chi. When Ning Chi saw Xiang Yu and him, he ought to know the reason for his visit today, yet he was still able to remain so calm. Obviously, Ning Chi's mental state had already attained an extremely profound state, and it was naturally extremely extraordinary for a perfection stage heavenly immortal. Wrong. Ning Chi didn't say anything. He looked at the old man with a faint smile. No one noticed that a few more figures came down from the 6th floor. Only Ning Chi saw them, and the other party also saw Ning Chi. "Mother, am I seeing things?" Spider Pattern looked at Jian Shilai in disbelief. North Moon Lingqiu was shocked as well. Jian Shilai's expression was somewhat calm. In the blink of an eye, she seemed to have completely understood. Her eyes revealed a trace of a smile as she looked at Ningqi warmly. However, deep within her eyes, there was a trace of worry that was difficult to detect. At this moment, Jiang Yu also walked down from the second floor. However, he maintained a relatively safe distance from the three women. His gaze swept past them, and when his gaze swept past Ningqi, he was first slightly stunned. Afterwards, a memory that had been hidden for a very long time suddenly surged into his mind. Jiang Yu revealed a sliver of shock and doubt as he stared fixedly at Ningqi. How could it be him? It can't be him. How could this be? Why didn't I recognize him when I was at the Netherworld River Divine Palace? Why was his cultivation so low back then? Why was I able to snatch the eternal flame from him so easily? Is there actually someone who looks exactly like him in this world? Just as Jiang Yu was in shock, the elder continued to smile at Ningqi. You're not bad, but it's a pity that you've injured my favorite disciple. As a master, I shouldn't interfere in the affairs of juniors like you. However, Xiang Yu's essence blood has been greatly depleted. Even if he could swallow this, he wouldn't be able to. Even if he can swallow this, I can't. When Jiang Yu heard the old man's voice, his attention immediately shifted from Ningqi to the old man. He frowned slightly, and a sliver of viciousness flashed through his eyes. Why did this kid come to planet Nanyu? Could it be? Jiang Yu glanced at the demon ancestor's heart in Jian Shilai's hand, shocked and furious. So Ning Beixian injured Xiang Yu and beat up the young one, causing the old one to come. Everyone's expression immediately became a little strange. They finally came to a realization. Why would such an existence suddenly come to planet Nanyu? Was he here specifically to seek revenge for his disciple? Ningqi ignored the old man. After he saw the three women, he naturally saw Jiang Yu. Indeed, it was as the rumors said. Jiang Yu seemed to be afraid and didn't dare to make a move. He didn't even dare to stay too close to the three women. At the same time, he also saw the demon ancestor's heart in Jian Shilai's hand. As well as the mutation of his arm, he immediately had an idea. In the eyes of the crowd, Ningqi didn't speak, as if he was scared silly. Mo Qingqing and Xiang Yu both revealed a proud smile, feeling incomparably happy. Senior, there might be some misunderstanding in this matter. It's inevitable for juniors to be injured in a battle. Why don't we just forget about it? Xiang Yu, what do you think? Kong Wenyue suddenly said. Seeing this, Ji Tianyun also spoke a few words. As for the others, such as old ancestor Nan Yu and Wei Gangqi, they all kept their mouths shut. This matter had nothing to do with them. If they spoke, they would be throwing themselves into this mess. Only a fool would do such a thing. Hee, if it's just some injuries, I naturally wouldn't come all the way here. How about this, since he didn't kill Xiang Yu, I won't kill him today. I'll return Xiang Yu's injuries to him untouched. The old man smiled. Kong Wenyue immediately shut her mouth. The old man had already promised not to kill Ningqi. Perhaps this was the best ending for them. Many people looked at Ningqi with a trace of sympathy. So what if he was once the number one on the Earth Immortal ranking? So what if he scared Profound Azure Mansion's Li Bingxian and made him flee in panic? So what if he killed Jiang Wei with one arrow? Today, facing this unfathomable Almighty, he still had no power to resist. Who gave you the courage to spout nonsense here? A figure sounded behind everyone. Everyone turned around in shock, only to see Jian Shilai with spider lines and North Moon Lingqiu walking straight to Ningqi's side. When the old man saw Jian Shilai, his expression suddenly changed because he smelled an extremely terrifying aura from Jian Shilai. This aura was 100 times, 1,000 times stronger than his. Aunt Jian. Ningqi cupped his hands at Jian Shilai. Fourth junior brother, it's really you. Chapter 2649. Who are they? Everyone looked at Jian Shilai and the other two women in shock. What they said was clearly directed at the old man. Old ancestor Nan Yu and Wei Gang's expressions became strange. They had already found out about Jian Shilai, the other two women, and Jiang Yu's existence. However, the four's auras were just too terrifying, and they seemed like strangers should not get close to them, so the two of them did not disturb them. However, the two of them did not expect Jian Shilai and the other two women to be so familiar with Ningqi. As expected, even the number one on the Heavenly Tao ranking isn't easy to get along with. Ning Beishuan's background must be terrifyingly powerful, old ancestor Nan Yu thought. So young Master Ning is acquainted with these powerhouses? No wonder Mr. Ning wants to find their whereabouts. Ji Yunfei stared at Ningqi dumbfounded. Then, a sliver of disappointment flashed through her eyes. She could tell that the way North Moon Lingqiu looked at Ningqi was different. At this moment, North Moon Lingqiu's aura had fused with Jian Shilai's, so he seemed unfathomable to outsiders. He was one of the powerhouses that Ji Yunfei had already recognized long ago. No wonder he doesn't like me. So there's a powerhouse that likes him, Ji Yunfei mumbled to herself. What's going on? Ji Tianyun and the others were shocked as well. What a terrifying aura! It seems like even Master can't match up to it. Xiang Yu looked at the three women with a pale expression, before looking at Ningqi. Her expression gradually darkened. You are? The old man looked at Jian Shilai and the other two women in bewilderment. The arrogance on his face had already disappeared, replaced by a serious expression. From the old man's attitude, everyone was certain that Jian Shilai and the other two women had extraordinary cultivations. Otherwise, how could the arrogant old man immediately change his attitude? As the old man asked, his eyes were about to land on Jian Shilai's arm. When Jiang Yu saw this, his body moved slightly and appeared in front of the old man. He shouted at the old man, "What are you doing here?" The old man was slightly stunned when he saw Jiang Yu, before gasping as if he had seen a ghost. He knelt on the ground with a thud. Grandson Jiang Kong greets the old ancestor. Everyone's eyes almost shattered. What was going on? First, the appearance of the old man had shocked them. Then, three women who seemed to have an even greater background than the old man appeared. The next moment, an existence that was the great ancestor of the old man appeared? Master? Xiang Yu glanced at the old man and immediately knelt on the ground. He looked at Jiang Yu with some fear. He knew a little about his master's background. The person in front of him was probably a big shot from there. Apart from fear, Xiang Yu's heart suddenly thumped with excitement. Perhaps this was his chance. Immediately, get out of planet South Peak, Jiang Yu said coldly. Hiss! Everyone looked at Jiang Yu in disbelief. Patriarch Southern Peak and Wei Gangqi exchanged glances. The shock in their hearts was indescribable. They were sure that the Patriarch was a primordial unity genuine celestial. So, what kind of person was the person in front of them? Immortal monarch? Ancestor, the old man did not know how he had offended Jiang Yu. Seeing that there seemed to be a trace of anger hidden in the depths of Jiang Yu's eyes, he immediately panicked. Jiang Yu, why are you in such a hurry to chase away your disciples? Ningqi suddenly said with a smile. As soon as he said that, the entire place fell into silence. Patriarch Southern Peak, Wei Gangqi, Mo Qinqing, Xiang Yu, Ji Tianyun, Kong Wenyue, Ji Yunfei, Ji Wei, Ji Fei, Ji Fengxian, the Ji family's elders who came this time, the diners on the 5th floor, and everyone else looked at Ningqi in disbelief, including Jian Shilai and the other two women. Fourth junior brother knows this person? Spider-One was dumbfounded. The old man's heart skipped a beat and his body could not help but tremble. The way he looked at Ningqi became uncertain. How dare this kid call the Patriarch by his name? Wait. How does this kid know the patriarch? Where did this kid come from? 3 huge doubts rose in his heart. At the same time, the old man suddenly felt a trace of fear towards Ningqi. Jiang Yu's body stiffened slightly. He slowly turned around and stared at Ningqi. Is it really you? Of course it's me. Ningqi smiled. The riddle between the two of them made everyone present even more puzzled and curious. What was going on? How did Ning Beixian know this existence? Xiang Yu looked at Ningqi in disbelief. He couldn't figure it out. An existence that even his master had to bow down to must be a great figure with an extremely high status. Ningqi was merely the first on the earthly immortal rankings and was now a perfected sky immortal. How could he know such an existence? Moreover, he acutely discovered that the relationship between the two of them seemed a little strange. Impossible, you weren't even a human immortal when I first met you in the netherworld, or I would have recognized you back then, and now, your cultivation is merely a full-fledged heavenly immortal, not much different from when you were on the homeworld. So many years have passed, so how could your cultivation have remained the same as before? To this extent? Jiang Yu stared at Ningqi with a look of disbelief in his eyes. As he spoke, he vaguely felt some pain between his legs. He still couldn't forget the injury that Ningqi had inflicted on him back at immortal Lord Shengong's residence on the homeworld. Suddenly, Jiang Yu realized that he couldn't see through Ningqi at all. Back when he was injured by Ningqi, Jiang Yu had been frantically searching for Ningqi after returning to his family. However, it was as if Ningqi had evaporated from the immortal realm. There was no trace of him at all. What had Feng been doing during this period of time? Why had his cultivation become so low? Or had he been hiding his cultivation? But now that he was a martial emperor, someone who could hide their cultivation before him was probably the third step? Impossible, impossible. Jiang Yu's eyes were filled with deep fear. He suddenly remembered that Ningqi and Jian Shilai knew each other. That meant that Ningqi's purpose in coming to planet Southern Peak was most likely for the demon progenitor's heart. The thought made the fear in his heart rise hundreds of feet high like raging waves. In the next moment, he didn't wait for Ningqi to speak. He grabbed the old man and disappeared on the spot. Even the demon progenitor's heart on Jian Shilai couldn't stop him from fleeing immediately. He ran? How dare he? Ningqi was taken aback. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, and there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. It seemed that even though Jiang Yu had ascended to the immortal emperor realm, he still couldn't forget the pain from back then. His behavior had completely traumatized Ningqi. Chapter 2650. Aunt Jian, let's find a place to talk. Ningqi looked at Jian Shilai and smiled. Jian Shilai smiled and nodded. She also had many questions to ask Ningqi. Ningqi bid farewell to Ji Yunfei and the others. Before he left, he glanced at Xiang Yu. Under the latter's terrified gaze, he left with Jian Shilai and the other 2 women. Phew, Xiang Yu heaved a long sigh of relief. At the same time, he was a little surprised. He thought that even if the other party didn't kill him, he would at least teach him a lesson, right? Thinking of this, Xiang Yu glanced at Ji Yunfei and felt a trace of humiliation in his heart. He somewhat understood why Ningqi didn't kill him. There was a 90% chance that it was because of his cousin, Ji Yunfei, the first on the Earth deity ranking, Ning Beixian. His background is unimaginable. Forefather Nanyue sighed with emotion as he watched Ningqi's group of 4 leave. Wei Gang nodded subconsciously. At the same time, he said with some doubt, that old man called himself Jiang Kong. Isn't the most famous Jiang family in the immortal world the Jiang family of the Central Empire? As far as I know, the Jiang family's only primordial unity true immortal has been killed by that senior from the ancestral star. All of them died in the hands of old ancestor Yu Qing. Where did this Jiang family come from? As the #1 genius on the Golden Immortal leaderboard, Wei Gongqi's friends were all people of status in the immortal world. Therefore, he knew a lot of things. However, even with his knowledge, he had no idea that there was another Jiang family in the immortal world. Moreover, this Jiang family seemed to be stronger than the Central Empire. The Jiang family was much more powerful. That old man was at least a primordial unity genuine celestial. What was the cultivation level of the patriarch? It's not surprising that there are many secluded sects and clans in the immortal world. Patriarch Nanyu smiled and looked at Xiangyu. At the same time, Kong Wenyue and Ji Tianyun hurriedly bowed to Ancestor Nanyu and Ancestor Nanyu. After greeting them, they hurriedly left the southern mountain tower with the pale Xiangyu. Before they left, they didn't forget to call Ji Yunfei and the others. When the two groups of people left, Patriarch Nanyu and Wei Gangqi also led the Southern Mountains sect's immortals out of Southern Mountains Tower. Only the customers who had watched the show were left on the 5th floor. Incredible, truly incredible! I didn't come to the Southern Peak Inn in vain today. I didn't expect such a powerful Jiang family to exist in this world. Guess how high that senior's cultivation is? There must be a Xian immortal, right? In that case, isn't the Almighty that he addressed as Patriarch a Tai genuine celestial? Tisk tsk, Ning Beixian could even scare away such a powerful being. Do you think it's possible that he's a disciple of the Langye immortal emperor? The diners discussed heatedly and expressed their opinions. However, they were not knowledgeable enough, and could not distinguish the strength of the old man and Jiang Yu. Even old ancestor Nan Yu and Wei Gangqi only thought that Jiang Yu was an immortal monarch. Only Ning Qi knew that Jiang Yu's cultivation was already at the immortal emperor realm. Today's events spread like wildfire from the mouths of the diners. Like a plague, the news spread throughout planet South Peak in a short period of time. Then, it spread from planet South Peak to the neighboring planet. Because of this, the various large sects of planet South Peak had a much better impression of Ning Qi. They wanted to use this opportunity to befriend him, but they didn't dare to be too rash. This caused the Ji family to be trampled to the ground by many people. They wanted the Ji family to be the middleman and introduce Ning Qi to them. After Yunhua sect learned about this, Xiang Nandu immediately announced the closure of the sect and ordered the disciples outside to keep a low profile, especially to stay away from Southern Peak City. In a small courtyard of the Ji family in Southern Peak City, Ning Qi sat face to face with Jian Shilai and the other two girls. He learned about what had happened in the past few years from them. Jian Shilai was also curious about how Ning Qi could come to the immortal world. Ning Qi told them about how he had captured Zhao Wuji from the profound Azure Mansion in the central continent and obtained the star map to the immortal world from him. After he told them about this, Jian Shilai and the other two girls finally understood. Fourth junior brother, you already knew that Jiang Yu? From his tone, it sounds like you've lived for a long time. Spider Pattern looked at Ning Qi rather suspiciously. She was originally only a late Earth demon, but because her aura was connected to Jian Shilai's, and Jian Shilai held the demon ancestor's heart tightly in his hand, Spider Pattern's aura was even more profound than Xiang Yu's master's. It was equivalent to mid or late Tai true immortal at the very least. However, this power did not belong to Spider Pattern, so she probably could not use it easily. North Moon Lingqiu also looked at Ning Qi curiously. She had learned far too many secrets in the past few years, but after meeting Ning Qi again, she discovered that he had even more secrets. I've met him a few times by chance. Ning Qi smiled before telling them about the Samsara formation. Many people on the ancestral planet knew about this, so it was not exactly a secret. Many people had probably already discovered that they had not entered an illusion. Instead, they had truly been transported to the ancestral planet of a long, long time ago. However, to Jian Shilai and the other two girls, it was basically a fantasy. Something like that actually exists in this world? Jian Shilai was rather surprised. Then, his gaze shifted slightly, and he looked at Ning Qi. Did that arrow really turn him into a eunuch? Yeah. Ning Qi nodded with a smile. I never thought he'd be a eunuch. He even said that he wanted to take us in as his concubines. How shameless! Spider Stripes said with a mocking expression. Jian Shilai looked at Ning Qi rather happily. Suddenly, his gaze swept past the demon ancestor's heart in his right hand and he asked Ning Qi, Beixian, do you know about this? The demon ancestor's heart. Ning Qi looked at Jian Shilai's right hand and said rather sternly. He had already sensed that the demon ancestor's heart was constantly channeling power into Jian Shilai's body. Fourth junior brother, you know about this too? Spider One looked at Ning Qi in surprise. Ning Qi seemed to know a lot of things which surprised her. A hint of admiration appeared in North Moon Lingqiu's eyes. That Jiang Yu really wants it. It should be something impressive, right? Jian Shilai said. It might be the heart left behind by a fourth-step cultivator. Ning Qi nodded and explained his understanding of third-step and fourth-step cultivators to the three girls. A sliver of shock appeared in the eyes of the three girls. Doesn't that mean that this demon ancestor is a person who created the world and created the vast demon world single-handedly? Spider One said in shock. It's possible. Ning Qi nodded. Jian Shilai's expression was solemn. Since this thing is so extraordinary, it must be very dangerous. I have already sensed it during this period of time. Perhaps when all of its power is poured into my body, I will no longer be me. Chapter 26:51. This item is gradually affecting my mind. I can sense that the power it's giving off right now is only a tiny portion of it, yet Jiang Yu is so fearful of it. Jian Shilai said. She did not continue, but Spider Pattern and North Moon Lingqiu understood. If a tiny portion of the demon ancestor's power was enough to make a martial emperor fearful, one could imagine just how terrifying the full power contained within the demon ancestor's heart was. If a bit more power surged into Jian Shilai's body, perhaps Jian Shilai's mind would be taken away. At that time, whether Jian Shilai would turn into the demon ancestor or forget his memories and become a new existence was unknown. Saintess, are you really unable to break free from the demon ancestor's heart? North Moon Lingqiu asked with some worry. Unable to break free? Ning Qi was slightly taken aback. A strange thought suddenly occurred to him. He glanced at Jian Shilai's right hand and said softly, Aunt Jian, you can't let go, can you? Yes. Jian Shilai nodded. A sliver of exhaustion flashed through her eyes. Ever since she grabbed the demon ancestor's heart, it was already very difficult for her to let go. Whether it was sleeping or eating, the demon ancestor's heart remained firmly attached to her palm. She could not break free at all. Otherwise, with Jian Shilai's intelligence, even if the demon ancestor's heart could bring her terrifying power, she would still choose other methods to obtain its power instead of holding on to it all the time. If this continues, Aunt Jian's life might be in danger. A sliver of worry flashed through Ning Qi's eyes. He had already tried to touch the demon ancestor's heart, but the system did not give him any notifications. The demon ancestor's heart did not seem to be interested in him either, and no other phenomena appeared. If he wanted to complete the advancement quest arranged by the system and truly obtain the demon ancestor's heart, he had to first let it escape from Jian Shilai's hand. A sliver of worry flashed through Ning Qi's eyes. Fourth junior brother, you've stayed in the Immortals world for a long time, so you're more knowledgeable than us. Do you have a way to help my mother? Spider Pattern looked at Ning Qi and asked. We can try, but we should leave planet Southern Peak now, in case Jiang Yu comes back to his senses and follows us. Ning Qi said. This time, Jiang Yu was scared away. As long as he was given some time, he would realize that Ning Qi had no means to threaten him. At that time, he would definitely catch up. Even if he did not dare to make a move because he was afraid of the heart of the devil ancestor in Jian Shilai's hands, it was still uncomfortable to be followed by an immortal emperor. The matter of submission. Where to? Jian Shilai's eyes moved slightly. The homeworld then. Ningqi laughed. With the green-robed old man guarding the ancestral star, Jiang Yu would not dare to trespass the ancestral star even if he had 10 guts. Back then, the green-robed old man had killed immortal monarch Wang Yu with a single slash, and then 7 immortal monarchs from the Jiang family with a single slash. It was enough to prove that even if he was not a third-step cultivator, he was at least invincible among the second-step cultivators. Once they reached the ancestral star, they would have plenty of time to deal with the demon progenitor's heart. The legendary birthplace of immortals? Jian Shilai was slightly stunned. Ningqi smiled when he heard that. It seemed that Jian Shilai and the other 2 women already knew a lot of things in the immortal realm. Just as the 4 of them were about to leave, Ji Yunfei seemed to have sensed something and found Ningqi. "Young Master Ning, are you planning on leaving planet South Peak?" Ji Yunfei said with a smile. Jian Shilai and the other 2 women stood beside Ningqi. Among them, Spider One and North Moon Lingqiu looked at Ji Yunfei with a strange expression. Spider One seemed to be a little happy, while North Moon Lingqiu was very bitter. "Yes." Ningqi nodded with a smile. "Then have a safe journey. When I have time in the future, I will go to the ancestral star." Ji Yunfei smiled and patted Ningqi's shoulder, before bowing to Jian Shilai and the other 2 women. "Take care, seniors." Seniors? If it were not for the demon progenitor's heart, even Jian Shilai's cultivation would not be comparable to Ji Yunfei's. Spider One and North Moon Lingqiu naturally knew that. Hearing Ji Yunfei call them seniors, their expressions were a little unnatural, but Jian Shilai smiled and nodded. In the depths of the universe, this place was extremely far from planet South Peak. There were a few Class 5 planets in between. Jiang Yu dragged Jiang Kong all the way here before stopping. "Something's wrong." Jiang Yu's expression changed slightly. "Patriarch." Jiang Kong looked at Jiang Yu in fear. He didn't know what was wrong with his ancestor. Why did he look like he had seen a ghost when he saw Ning Beixian? "I'll say it again. Scram back to your clan. Since when can you weaklings act as you please in the immortal world? Remember, I don't want to see you again." Jiang Yu looked coldly at Jiang Kong and berated. Jiang Kong was slightly angry in his heart, but he did not dare to show it on the surface. He could only nod in fear and trepidation, saluting, "I will return to the clan." Before he could finish his words, Jiang Kong felt a flash before his eyes and he lost sight of Jiang Yu. Seeing this, Jiang Kong's expression instantly turned a little sinister. Damn old eunuch. He must have become moody because he couldn't recover from his injuries all these years. "I'm a primordial unity genuine celestial. Even if I don't have a high position in my clan, I'm still a super existence in the celestial realm. If Immortal Monarch and Langya don't come out, who can be my opponent? In front of scolding me in front of so many people. Damn it, damn it." Jiang Kong gritted his teeth and looked at the void with incomparable resentment in his eyes. Then, the corner of his mouth curved into a sinister smile and he whispered to himself, "Hee hee, this old eunuch seems to be afraid that I'll see the thing in that woman's hand. That must be a treasure. Not to mention my Jiang clan, the other 8 clans all have existences stronger than him. 20. This information should be worth some money." Thinking of this, Jiang Kong took out a jade token. Then, with a slight movement of his mind, he disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in a huge city. This huge city seemed to be shrouded by a mysterious formation. The whole city exuded an extremely terrifying aura, like a giant beast that had existed since ancient times, crouching on the ground. This was one of the most mysterious places in the immortal world, the sacred land of the Jiang clan. Even Lang Yu, immortal emperor, had only been here once. The whole huge city was bustling with people. If an immortal from the outside world appeared here, he would definitely be shocked, because every immortal walking on the street exuded an extremely terrifying aura. Zenith heaven immortals and profound immortals could be seen everywhere in the immortal world. There were also many immortal monarch realm existences like Jiang Kong, who were known as the strongest existences below the immortal emperor in the immortal world. Jiang Kong was heading towards a building in the huge city that exuded a sacred aura. On the way, he encountered at least 3 immortal monarchs. Not long after, Jiang Kong appeared in front of a palace. 2 immortals with auras more terrifying than his were standing at the entrance of the palace. They were looking at Jiang Kong indifferently. Chapter 2652. Jiang Li, I need to see Ancestor Jiang Hao, Jiang Kong said in a low voice. The Tai genuine immortal, who was called Jiang Li, glanced at him and exchanged a glance with the other Tai genuine immortal. They seemed to communicate with each other secretly. Then, he said slowly, Ancestor Jiang Hao is cultivating in seclusion. He will not see any guest. You'd better go back. Jiang Kong was not angry. Instead, he was happy. At least, it proved that Ancestor Jiang Hao had not left the holy land of the Jiang family. This is very important. Go and report it. I believe Ancestor Jiang Hao will see me. Jiang Kong said. It's very important? Jiang Li's eyes flashed with sarcasm. What can it be? I heard that you have recruited many disciples in the outside world recently. You plan to cultivate that demonic skill. As a disciple of the Jiang family, you are not qualified. Jiang Kong was slightly startled, and his complexion became somewhat ashen. He did not know how Jiang Li knew what he had been secretly doing. However, his most important cultivation stove had been destroyed, and the demonic skill was not a pressing matter. As long as he passed the message to Jiang Hao, he believed that he would be rewarded. He believed that the reward would be far greater than the benefits of that demonic skill. Jiang Li, when you are free in the future, you can naturally come and settle the score with me. But now, the thing that I am going to tell Ancestor Jiang Hao is related to his cultivation. If you don't report it to him, you will not have a good time when Ancestor Jiang Hao questions you in the future. Jiang Kong sneered. Jiang Li's expression changed slightly. A trace of suspicion appeared in his eyes, and he felt some fear in his heart. Forget it. I'll go and report it. The other Tai genuine immortal said indifferently. Then, he turned around and entered the hall. Jiang Kong and Jiang Li stood outside the door and stared at each other. After a while, the Tai genuine immortal walked out and said to Jiang Kong, Ancestor Jiang Hao wants to see you. Come with me. Thank you. Jiang Kong smiled at him and cast a provocative glance at Jiang Li. Then, he followed the primordial unity genuine immortal into the hall. Jiang Li looked at Jiang Kong's back with a livid expression. It was unknown what he was thinking. Patriarch is inside. You can go in. The primordial unity perfected immortal who was leading the way stood outside a stone room and said in a low voice. Jiang Kong nodded, took a deep breath, and pushed the door in. The space inside the stone room was much larger than the outside, but it was also very dark, like a small universe, dotted with little starlight. Boom! With a loud bang, the door closed by itself. Jiang Kong's expression changed slightly. He cupped his hands and saluted a figure in the distance. Third House's disciple, Jiang Kong, greets Ancestor Jiang Hao. After a short while, a voice slowly sounded out. A disciple of the third branch? Do you know that the relationship between me and Jiang Yu is as incompatible as fire and water? You dared to come see me today because of Jiang Yu? Jiang Kong quickly said, It's not forefather Jiang Yu's intention. The silhouette slowly turned around. His facial features were 80% similar to Jiang Yu's. If one did not look closely, they would think that he was another Jiang Yu. At this moment, there was a hint of curiosity on his face, as he looked at Jiang Kong with a faint smile. "Then why have you come to find me?" Jiang Kong lowered his head and said, "This disciple met forefather Jiang Yu on planet Southern Peak." After a while, Jiang Kong told him what he had seen and heard on planet Southern Peak. Ning Beixian? Wasn't he ranked first on the Earth Immortal ranking some time ago? How did he know Jiang Yu? You said that Jiang Yu is afraid of him? Jiang Hao's expression changed slightly. It seems so. Jiang Kong was also a little uncertain. That's not the point. The point is, what does Jiang Yu want from those three women? As far as I know, women are useless to him. When I saw him bring back two women's spiritual souls, I thought that Jiang Yu's temperament has become perverted. Now it seems that it's really the case? Jiang Hao's eyes revealed a faint trace of mockery. Jiang Kong looked a little embarrassed and quickly said, "Forefather Jiang Hao, according to what I saw, I think that the three women have an incredible treasure on them." "Maybe. But as Jiang Yu's great-grandson, you should be of this generation, right? Why did you betray your forefather?" Jiang Hao looked at Jiang Kong indifferently. Jiang Kong's face revealed a trace of confusion. "Betray? I didn't betray him? When I learned about this, I felt that it was a serious matter. Forefather Jiang Yu might need help, so I came to see you. Is that so? Not bad. Keep up the good work." Jiang Hao smiled and gently waved his hand. With a flash of silver light, a long sword appeared in Jiang Kong's hand. Jiang Kong looked down and bowed to Jiang Hao in surprise. "Thank you, Forefather Jiang Hao. One piece of information in exchange for a top-grade Dao artifact." To him, this was a huge profit. Even though the Jiang clan was a heavenly Dao clan with an enormous amount of wealth and cultivation resources, the number of disciples in the Jiang clan was not small. On the contrary, there was an intense competition. Jiang Kong's status in the Jiang family was originally on the low side. Ever since he advanced to the Tai True Immortal realm, he obtained an extremely low-quality, superior-grade Dao artifact. He had been using it until now. After countless battles and repairs, that superior-grade Dao artifact was on the verge of breaking down. Now that he obtained an immortal lord, he was qualified to use it. To Jiang Kong, a supreme-grade Dao artifact would at least increase his combat strength by a few times. "You said that Jiang Yu appeared on planet Nanyue, right?" Jiang Hao smiled. Jiang Kong hurriedly nodded. In the next moment, he felt his vision blur, and he was already outside the stone chamber. The Tai True Immortal who was waiting outside had a hint of suspicion in his eyes. He seemed to be guessing what Jiang Kong had said to Jiang Hao, and whether he had gained anything from it. "We should reach the ancestral star in 7 or 8 days. Ning Qi glanced at the surrounding star region and said, "When Wensheng and Wenqing brought him to the ancestral star, they had taken this route. Ning Qi still had some impression of it. Then let's speed up." Jian Shilai smiled. A vast and terrifying aura swept out from her body, enveloping Ning Qi and the two women in spider pattern. They flew toward the ancestral star at an even faster speed. There were two reasons why Ning Qi did not let them stay in the creation realm. First, he was afraid that Jiang Yu would catch up with them. With Jian Shilai and the other two women in the creation realm, Jiang Yu would most likely be able to suppress Ning Qi in an instant, preventing him from releasing Jian Shilai. Only with Jian Shilai outside could Jiang Yu be fearful when he appeared and not dare to make a move. As for the second reason, Jian Shilai was currently supported by the demon patriarch's heart. Although her divine power was still inferior to that of an immortal emperor, her speed was faster than Ning Qi's 90,000-li teleportation and giant eagle form. Chapter 2653. This guy isn't too stupid. He still managed to react. Ningqi looked at Jiang Yu and thought. Spider One and North Moon Lingqiu did not look too good. Jian Shilai looked at Jiang Yu indifferently and smiled. It's none of your business whether I die in the ancestral planet or not. Do you really think you can stop me? Jiang Yu glanced at the demon ancestor's heart in Jian Shilai's hand. With the demon ancestor's heart, he could not fight Jian Shilai. After all, it was something left behind by the legendary fourth-step cultivator, the demon ancestor. It might contain the essence of the demon ancestor's entire life. Any bit of it was enough to kill a second-step cultivator 10,000 times, or even 100,000 times. However, Jian Shilai underestimated his hatred towards Ningqi. I'm not trying to stop you today. You can go to the ancestral planet. I won't stop you. What I want is him. Jiang Yu pointed at Ningqi. You want me? Don't forget you're a eunuch. It's impossible for the two of us. Ningqi said with a surprised expression. Jiang Yu's expression alternated between green and white. Very few people knew about this. At the very least, Jian Shilai and the other two girls did not know before, which was why he used the excuse of taking them in as concubines to tempt them into handing over the demon ancestor's heart. Now, Ningqi had revealed his hidden ailment for many years. Most importantly, the ailment was caused by Ningqi, which made Jiang Yu both embarrassed and furious. The rage in his heart burned uncontrollably. Spider One and North Moon Lingqiu chuckled. Jian Shilai looked at Jiang Yu with a faint smile. Go. I won't give him to you. If you want him, come and take him. Let's see if you die or if we die. As he spoke, Jian Shilai slowly raised his right hand. The aura of the demon ancestor's heart seemed to thicken. The golden burn mark brightened, and the power surging into Jian Shilai's body increased by several times. Jiang Yu's expression flickered. He did not expect Jian Shilai and Ningqi to be so close. Don't you know you're not far from death? Jiang Yu looked at Jian Shilai coldly. That's my business. Jian Shilai smiled. As long as you hand this child over to me, I can give up on the demon ancestor's heart. You can go wherever you want. Only then will you have a chance to find a way to suppress the demon ancestor's heart. Otherwise, one day you will be replaced. Jiang Yu said. Let's go. Jian Shilai smiled at Ningqi, completely ignoring Jiang Yu. At that moment, another figure suddenly appeared in the void. Then, without saying a word, the figure directly slashed towards Ningqi and the other three. The real target of the rainbow-like sword qi seemed to be Jian Shi's right hand. Jiang Hao? Jiang Yu was a little shocked. He didn't understand why Jiang Hao would suddenly appear here. He had been cultivating in seclusion in the clan all year round in order to break through to the third step. Is it a coincidence? Or, let's work together and get rid of that woman. We'll talk about the rest later. Jiang Hao's voice rang in Jiang Yu's ears. Seeing this, Jiang Yu gritted his teeth and made his move. 99% of the immortals in the immortal world only knew that Lang Yu Immortal Emperor was the only emperor in this world. If they saw this scene, their jaws would definitely drop. Two great immortal emperors were working together to suppress Jian Shilai. How terrifying was that? Boom! Mighty devil qi surged out of Jian Shilai's body and directly blocked Jiang Hao's sword and Jiang Yu's follow-up attack. Both sides immediately stood in a stalemate. Jiang Yu and Jiang Hao stood in the void a few miles apart and looked at Ningqi and the other three. Even among the immortal emperors, there are only a few who can block this sword of mine. Including Jiang Yu, although they still can't compare to the one in the ancestral star, even Lang Yu will suffer a little. Lady, the thing in your hand is very impressive. Jiang Hao smiled. He glanced at the heart of the demon ancestor, and a trace of doubt arose in his heart. He seemed to have some impression of this thing, but he suddenly couldn't remember. What kind of thing could allow a woman with a cultivation base of only Earth Demon to block the attacks of two immortal emperors? Jiang Hao could see through Jian Shilai's cultivation base at a glance. Therefore, after thinking for a while, without Jiang Yu and Jian Shilai saying anything, a bolt of lightning flashed in his mind. He had some guesses about the origins of the demon ancestor's heart. Could this stone be the legendary demon ancestor's heart that was left behind after the demon ancestor passed away? After Jiang Hao said that, he noticed that Jiang Yu's expression changed slightly. He could not help but laugh and said, "Ha ha ha. Who would have thought that the legend was true? The demon ancestor really left behind a heart." "Jiang Yu, you knew about this but didn't report it to the clan. Were you planning to keep the demon ancestor's heart for yourself? Even if you get one of them. If you're lucky, you might be able to retain your sanity. If you're unlucky, you won't be you anymore." "It's none of your business." Jiang Yu snorted. "How did you know I was here?" "It's none of your business," Jiang Hao said with a smile. Ning Qi looked at Jiang Hao and then at Jiang Yu. He found that the two of them looked very similar. They might be twins from the same mother. However, there seemed to be some problems with their relationship. "Fortunately, I have the demon ancestor's heart with me today. I won't be killed by the two of them, but—" Ning Qi looked at Jian Shilai with a flash of worry in his eyes. Jian Shilai's expression had changed a little. Because the power that the demon ancestor's heart had unleashed just now, it still remained in Jian Shilai's body. If this continued, it would not take long for Jian Shilai to be devoured by the demon ancestor's heart. "Miss, you should be able to tell that I don't have a good relationship with Jiang Yu. If you give me the demon ancestor's heart, not only will I save your lives, but I will also help you kill Jiang Yu. Are you a deal?" Jiang Hao smiled at Jian Shilai. "Jiang Hao." Jiang Yu immediately glared at Jiang Hao. "Stop acting. Even if the two of you join forces today, you won't be able to stop us. Why waste time?" Jian Shilai said faintly. "Well, we really can't stop you, but we can buy some time. Miss, you're not feeling well now, are you? Even an immortal emperor like me can't bear something left behind by a fourth step almighty, let alone you. As long as you keep using its power, it won't take long for your physical body to collapse. Without your physical body to bear the power of the demon ancestor's heart, do you think that Jiang Yu and I can't suppress a mere heart that has lost its will?" Jiang Hao said with a smile. "You reminded me." Jian Shilai smiled. Chapter 2654. She had no idea what Jian Shilai had done. The demon ancestor's heart in her hand originally only had a few scorched marks, but now the entire demon ancestor's heart had become golden and resplendent, as if it was about to melt. At the same time, Jian Shilai's aura rapidly skyrocketed. Very soon, it surpassed Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu. "Mother!" A sliver of worry appeared in Spider Pattern's eyes. This was not normal. Her and North Moon Lingqiu's auras were connected to Jian Shilai's. As Jian Shilai's aura skyrocketed, the two of them were increasing as well. "Jiang Hao, you deserve to die." Jiang Yu flew into a rage and growled at Jiang Hao. He had chased after the three women for so many years, but he had never dared to attack them even once. He did not even dare to speak too harshly, as he was afraid of angering Jian Shilai and causing irreversible consequences. Now Jiang Hao had angered Jian Shilai as soon as he appeared. He had ruined his plans of so many years. "You can't blame me. How would I know she's so tough?" Jiang Hao's expression changed slightly. In the next moment, Ning Qi suddenly felt his body being pushed away gently by a power. At the same time, a terrifying power surged out from Jian Shilai's body, forming a prison of the world that trapped Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu. At the same time, the three women were trapped in the prison as well. Jian Shilai's eyes gradually turned pale gold, and her hair fluttered without any wind. The golden patterns that were originally controlled below her elbows had already appeared on her neck, and even her face. The skin that was exposed to the air was densely covered in golden patterns. At that moment, Jian Shilai's aura had completely overwhelmed Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu, but her aura was still skyrocketing. However, her body was already struggling to endure it. Her fingers, palms, arms, eyes, ears, and face were collapsing one after another. However, as soon as they collapsed, another power appeared. It was forcefully reassembling. "Auntie Jian, stop!" A sliver of anxiety appeared in Ning Qi's eyes as he immediately communicated secretly. This strange phenomenon was enough to prove that Jian Shi's body was about to be unable to withstand the power of the demon ancestor's heart, and was in danger of collapsing at any time. If it really collapsed, with the power of the demon ancestor's heart, nothing would be left of Jian Shi. Jian Shilai seemed to be unable to hear Ning Qi's telepathic message. Her demeanor changed, as if she was another person. She looked at Jiang Yu and Jiang Hao indifferently and gently extended her hand. When Jiang Yu and Jiang Hao saw this, their eyes revealed a hint of surprise. They immediately unleashed the most powerful technique in their lives and blocked Jian Shilai's finger. One by one, top-grade Dao artifacts were tossed out as if they were free. At the same time, they used all sorts of Tier 9 immortal techniques to block Jian Shi's attacks while attempting to break through the prison of heaven and earth. "Jiang Hao, if I die here, I will haunt you even if I become a ghost. You knew that the demon ancestor's heart was left behind by a fourth step Almighty, yet you deliberately provoked him." Jiang Yu growled. He was extremely furious. If it wasn't for Jiang Hao, he believed that he would have all kinds of methods to obtain the demon ancestor's heart. All he needed to do was to put in a bit of effort. However, not only was he unable to obtain the demon ancestor's heart, even his own life was in danger. He was very familiar with Jian Shilai's aura. It was beyond the Emperor realm, but had yet to truly step into the third step of the ancient transformation realm. There were only a few of such existences in the Jiang family. During the Great War of Immortals and Demons, it seemed like the Heavenly Dao family had won and suppressed both the ancient immortals and demons. However, almost all the third-step cultivators of the 9 great Heavenly Dao families had been wiped out by the ancient immortals and demons. Only a few ancient transformation realm existences had survived. Until now, they did not even dare to take a step out of the family's holy land. Now that Jian Shilai's aura had risen to the ancient transformation realm, it meant that even if his strength had not reached the true level of the ancient transformation realm, his methods were not something a mere emperor realm could withstand. "Jiang Yu, do you think I have not read the ancient books left behind by that person? That person personally said that if you want to find him in the future, the demon ancestor's heart is the key. This is the only key in the celestial world that can lead to the Shenluo world. Do you think I don't know?" Jiang Hao sneered as he blocked Jian Shilai's attack. At the same time, he looked at the demon ancestor's heart in Jian Shilai's hand with a hint of greed. Just a little bit of power can raise an Earth Devil stage existence to the ancient transformation realm. I'm afraid this demon ancestor's heart is really that demon ancestor's. If we can obtain the essence left behind and follow in his footsteps to leave this world and head to the Shenluo world, we will also have a chance to reach the third step or even the fourth step in the future. So, don't throw a tantrum here. Let's work together to stop her. Although she has temporarily entered the ancient transformation realm, she was only an Earth Devil before. How can she have the methods of a true ancient transformation realm expert? With her physical body, she will not be able to hold on for long. If this drags on for another 15 minutes or so, she will definitely die. Soul destruction. Jiang Yu was slightly stunned when he heard that. A trace of shame and anger rose in his heart because Jiang Hao had said what he was thinking. However, this slight trace of shame and anger dissipated immediately. Jiang Hao was right. Right now, the two of them could only work together to delay the time in order to have a chance to turn the situation around. At the very least, they had to save their lives. With Jiang Yu's cooperation, the two of them seemed to have a tacit understanding when they worked together. The situation did not seem to be as embarrassing as before. Ningqi could not hear the conversation between the two of them. He only looked at the scene in front of him anxiously. Although Jian Shilai's current methods were so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end, and he was suppressing Jiang Yu and Jiang Hao, Ningqi could see that Jian Shilai would not be able to hold on for long. Aunt Jian's current state is really dangerous. If there's no other way, I'm afraid. Ningqi frowned deeply. How could he not see Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu's intention to delay the time? If Jian Shilai could not kill the two of them before he reached his limit, then he and the three women would not have a chance to live today. His only chance was to turn around and leave. He would ignore the fight between the three women and Jiang Yu and escape to the ancestral star. With the old man around, Jiang Yu and Jiang Hao naturally would not dare to go to the ancestral star to look for him. However, Ningqi did not choose to leave, nor would he choose to leave. Two celestial emperors and one pseudo-ancient transformation realm. The aftermath of the battle between the three of them was enough to destroy an ordinary planet. Even if the planets in the celestial world were protected by the laws of the heavenly Tao and were many times stronger than those on the central continent, they would still not be spared. However, the aftermath of the battle between the three of them was only within the universal prison. It surged and was tightly wrapped by Jian Shilai's aura, not leaking out at all. As time passed, Jian Shilai's attack seemed to be slowly weakening. Soon, Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu's faces lit up with joy. However, in the next moment, the two of them turned pale with fright because Jian Shilai's aura had once again skyrocketed. This time, it had directly pushed her to the third step. Are you crazy? Jiang Hao could not help but growl at Jian Shilai. Jian Shilai's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. He glanced at Ningqi, who immediately had a bad feeling. In the next moment, everyone noticed that a vortex-like door had suddenly appeared behind Jian Shilai. Spider Mark and North Moon Lingqiu were sucked in almost the blink of an eye. Even Jian Shilai could not help but take a few steps back. It seemed like there was a terrifying force behind the vortex door that was pulling her. Shenluo realm? Jiang Yu cried out. Shenluo realm? Ningqi's expression changed slightly when he heard those three words. Chapter 2655. Seeing Jiang Hao's actions, Jiang Yu immediately reacted. Like Jiang Hao, he rushed towards the vortex gate. The two seemed to have given up on defense for the gate, willing to trade their injuries for the chance to enter the gate. At the same time, Jian Shilai realized that she was being pulled by the gate. She had no choice but to use 90% of her power to resist the gate, using the remaining 10% to slap Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu. Boom! The two of them somersaulted countless times and directly broke through the prison of heaven and earth, turning into stars and disappearing in front of Ningqi's eyes. Jian Shi, who had unleashed this palm strike, seemed to be no longer able to resist the vortex door behind her. She looked towards Ningqi, and the gold in her eyes gradually dissipated, returning to clarity. The next moment, without waiting for Ningqi to speak, Jian Shilai waved her hand and the demon ancestor's heart flew to Ningqi. I don't know what's behind this gate. Take it and you'll have a chance to reopen it in the future. Whether I can come back or not depends on you. Bei Xian, live well. Jian Shilai's voice sounded in Ningqi's ears. Then, her body was sucked into the vortex gate, which closed the next moment. The void was silent. If not for the demon ancestor's heart floating in front of Ningqi, it would have been as if nothing had happened. The demon ancestor's heart had turned black again, no longer looking like a ball of red lava. Even the mottled charcoal marks were gone. Ningqi's eyes flickered and he slowly held the demon ancestor's heart. He did not know if he would end up like Jian Shilai and be invaded by the power of the demon ancestor's heart. When Ning Qi's palm completely grasped the demon ancestor's heart, nothing happened. The demon ancestor's heart was like an ordinary pebble, quiet and still. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the demon ancestor's heart and completing the advancement mission. Would you like to advance now? The system's notification sounded. Ning Qi looked in the direction where Jian Shilai had disappeared, then put away the demon ancestor's heart and sped towards the ancestral planet. To advance from a celestial being to a golden immortal, one had to undergo the thunder tribulation. Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu could return at any time. Jian Shilai's palm strike should have taught them a lesson, but it was not enough. To kill the two, Ning Qi did not plan to stay. Reaching the ancestral planet as soon as possible was the safest option. At this moment, the three words that Jiang Yu spat out lingered in Ning Qi's mind. Divine Luo World? What kind of place is this? Will Aunt Jian and the others be in danger if they go there? Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu's eyes were tightly closed as they floated in the universe. Occasionally, some immortal beasts would fly by and come up to check out the situation out of curiosity. In the end, before they could even get close, the two of them would be automatically protected by the aura around them. How could ordinary immortal beasts withstand the aura of an immortal emperor? They all turned around and ran far away. Occasionally, a group of asteroids would pass by them. However, no matter how big or small these asteroids were, none of them could touch the two of them. Before they could even get within 10 zhang of them, they would be shattered by their auras. After an unknown period of time, their eyelids suddenly twitched, and they woke up almost at the same time. Puff! A mouthful of blood sprayed out from Jiang Hao and Jiang Yu's mouth. After that, their faces turned slightly pale. As expected of a third-step cultivator. That palm almost killed me. Jiang Hao sighed. Jiang Yu was expressionless. He then looked at Jiang Hao coldly. You never consider the consequences of your actions. If it wasn't for you, I would have gone to Shenluo World to follow in that person's footsteps. Ha! Jiang Hao couldn't help but laugh. Jiang Hao couldn't help but laugh. You always like to procrastinate when you do things. If it wasn't for me, you probably wouldn't know if there's really a place like Shenluo World in this world. Even the mysterious door just now might not lead to Shenluo World. I was just taking a gamble. Might not? Heh. Jiang Yu was so angry that he laughed. The demon ancestor's heart is something left behind by a fourth-step cultivator. If the door opened by that power doesn't lead to Shenluo World, where else would it lead to? Back then, that person promised to bring the 9 great heavenly Tao families to Shenluo World. However, he disappeared in the end. Because of that, the connection between us and heaven was broken. What did our 9 great heavenly Tao clans pay in order to head to the divine Luo World? The third-step cultivators died in the great war of immortals and demons, leaving only a group of ancient transformation realm patriarchs. Because that person went to Shenluo World, these ancient transformation realm patriarchs were like rats, hiding in the sacred grounds of their families. I'm afraid that the ancient immortals still have some tricks left behind. I originally had a chance to break free from this world's shackles and go to Shenluo World. I would definitely be able to reach the third step there, but this chance was destroyed by you. You've always done things without considering the consequences since you were young. I'll kill you. Jiang Yu's face was ferocious as he spoke. Upon seeing this, Jiang Hao attacked first before Jiang Yu could attack. The two of them exchanged punches and kicks as they fought in the depths of the universe. Some unlucky planets with no living beings happened to be in the path of their fight and were innocently destroyed by the shockwaves of their battle. The battle lasted for a long time. Jiang Hao saw that Jiang Yu seemed to be possessed by a demon. His eyes were blood-red, as if he wouldn't stop until he killed him. He immediately said, Stop fighting. Although those 3 women went to Shenlua world, they might not have brought the demon ancestor's heart there. Have you forgotten that there was a guy there? We were knocked unconscious by that woman and didn't see what happened afterward. We can only find out what happened after we capture that guy. Perhaps we still have a chance. Chance? Jiang Yu's eyes gradually became clear. Seeing that Jiang Yu had stopped, Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. His cultivation was similar to Jiang Yu's. If they were to continue fighting, there might not be a winner even if they fought for a few years. Then, Jiang Yu turned around and left without saying a word. Upon seeing this, Jiang Hao immediately followed. Not long after, the 2 of them returned to where they were previously. It was already empty and there was nothing there. Jiang Yu looked in the direction of the ancestral star and said faintly, "If that guy is still alive, he should have gone to the ancestral star. Go and capture him, and I won't argue with you about this." "Are you kidding? That damn old man is in the ancestral star, and you want me to capture him? Back then, your master uncle, Immortal Emperor Wang Yu, and the 7 immortal emperors of the Jiang family were all killed by that damn old man. I won't be able to come back even if I go." Jiang Hao sneered. "Give me a solution, or I'll fight you to the death." Jiang Yu said coldly. Chapter 2656. Ancestral Star. Xianjian Sect. Ever since the last time the Divine Tomb opened, Ancestor Xianjian and Ning Qi did not leave the Divine Tomb. The atmosphere in the Xianjian sect became incomparably sorrowful. Almost every sect on the Ancestral Star knew about this, especially those who had enmity with the Xianjian sect. However, they did not dare to take revenge on the Xianjian sect at this moment, because Ning Qi was once the personal disciple of Ancestor Yu Qing. Everyone knew about this. They were afraid that the Clear sect would intervene, so they were prepared to wait for a while. Moreover, although Old Man Mysterious Sword did not leave the Divine Tomb, the Xianjian sect still had Ancestor Qi Yao. Many people were waiting to see if Ancestor Qi Yao would become the sect master of the Xianjian sect. If that was the case, then the chance to take revenge could only be left for the future. Xianjian sect main peak, sect master hall. Back then, Old Man Mysterious Sword's seat was now occupied by Qi Yao. Luobua and the other Ascension sect's geniuses, Nangong, Murong and the other Mysterious Sword sect's golden immortals stood behind Qi Yao. As for the other peak masters, they sat on either side of him. They looked at the group of figures at the center of the palace hall with indistinct anger in their eyes. However, other than anger, there was also a trace of fear and wariness. Some of the figures standing in the center of the hall were familiar to everyone, while others were unfamiliar. Shi Yifan, Nalan Shiji, Hizei, and a dozen other successor disciples of the Xianjian sect, as well as many Xianjian sect inner disciples, as well as the Heaven Immortal Elder and 2 Golden Immortal Elders of the Xianjian sect, were all standing in front of Bai Xing. Behind Shui and Li Si. Qi Yao, Old Man Mysterious Sword is already dead, and Ning Beixian did not leave the Divine Tomb. I think Shi Yifan should inherit the position of sect master of the Xianjian sect. As a cultivator of the Ascension sect, you should return to your Ascension sect. Bai Xingxue smiled. Shi Yifan stood behind him, his eyes revealing a trace of excitement. After the end of the Divine Tomb, Bai Xingxue and Li Si suddenly found him and asked him if he was interested in becoming the sect master of the Xianjian sect. In the future, he would follow the 2 of them. Facing this kind of pie that fell from the sky, Shi Yifan almost fainted. After regaining his senses, he naturally nodded in agreement. In his opinion, even if Old Man Mysterious Sword was still alive, Old Man Mysterious Sword would still have to obediently give up his seat with Bai Xingxue and Li Si, 2 grand heavenly realm prodigies backing him. Bai Xingxue's words once again caused the eyes of the Xianjian sect cultivators in the hall to burn with rage. As for those who had betrayed the Xianjian sect and chose to stand behind Bai Xingxue and Li Si to force him to abdicate. Although they felt a little guilty, they were still in a good mood. As long as Shi Yifan took the position of sect master this time, the cultivation resources and benefits that these founding ministers could obtain would definitely be more than 10 times more than what they had now. That was why there were golden immortals who sought refuge with Bai Xingxue and Li Si. Young Master Bai, what you've said is incorrect. Our Ascension sect is the Xianjian sect's upper sect. Since Old Man Mysterious Sword has not left the Divine Tomb, it is up to our Ascension sect's sect master to decide who the position of Xianjian sect's sect master should fall into. What does that have to do with you? As for Shi Yifan, his potential was not bad. There is also a sliver of a possibility to choose the position of sect master. However, these are the private matters of my Xianjian sect. I hope that young Master Bai and young Master Li will not interfere. Qi Yao said with a light smile. You're wrong. Bai Xingxue's mouth was like a lotus flower as he spoke of one great principle after another. Shi Yifan and the others were beaming with joy while Qi Yao's side was burning with fury. In any case, Bai Xingxue and Li Si's intentions were very clear. They wanted to support Shi Yifan to become the Xianjian sect's sect master. As for the reason, Qi Yao was simply unable to think of it. There was only one reason for the two of them to do so, and that was to disgust Ning Qi, whose life or death was unknown. As for Qi Yao, he thought that the two of them had their eyes on the Xianjian sect's cultivation resources on the ancestral star. In that case, the two of you are unwilling to let go of this matter. If I continue to fail to appreciate your kindness, you will suppress me? Qi Yao forced a smile on his face. That's right. Li Si nodded with a light smile. Nangong and the other elders were extremely furious. However, Bai Xingxue and Li Si were simply too powerful. Any one of them could massacre the entire Xianjian sect. No matter how furious they were, they did not dare to reprimand the two of them. Right at that moment, two figures suddenly walked into the sect master's palace. Seeing that, the crowd revealed a trace of anticipation. These two figures were none other than Ing Zhenxuan and Li Xian. The former had a good relationship with Ning Qi, and they were hoping that the Yuqing sect would help because of this. As for the latter, they all knew that this woman was Bai Xingxue's junior sister, and she also had a good relationship with Ning Qi. If she spoke up to persuade him, today's matter might not have ended up in such an awkward situation. The expressions of Shi Yifan and the rest changed slightly. His gaze landed on Ing Zhenxuan, and then swept past Li Xian. During this process, his face was expressionless, and no one could tell what he was thinking. Second senior brother, don't interfere in the matters of the Xianjian sect anymore, can you? Li Xian looked at Bai Xingxue with a slightly cold gaze. Junior sister, don't meddle in this matter. When we're done with this matter, I'll bring you back to the sect. Bai Xingxue smiled. Although he was smiling, everyone could see the determination in his words, as if there was no room for discussion. This is a private matter of our Xianjian sect. Why are you interfering? Ing Zhenxuan could not help but ask. Bai Xingxue looked at her with a smile that was not a smile. I heard that you are Brother Ning's recognized sister, and Brother Ning's life and death are unknown. It's possible that he died in the Divine Tomb. Since that's the case, I have the responsibility to think about your matters for him. When Shi Yifan takes the position of sect master of the Xianjian sect, you two will get married. All right. Thank you, Senior Bai. Shi Yifan cupped his hands and thanked him on the spot. He glanced at Ing Zhenxuan with a trace of complacency and viciousness. Hiss, when the various peak masters and geniuses heard this, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. They never thought that Bai Xingxue would even care about this kind of thing. At this moment, they seemed to have somewhat figured out why Bai Xingxue and Li Si would interfere in this matter today. This was because when Bai Xingxue mentioned Ning Qi, although there was a smile on his face, there was a slight change in his tone and gaze. It was hatred. As for the enmity between Ning Qi and Bai Xingxue, there was almost no one who did not know. Everyone knew that Bai Xingxue's high-grade Dao artifact was destroyed by Ning Qi. Second senior brother, what are you doing? Li Xian shouted angrily. Ing Zhenshuan was startled. She looked at Shi Yifan, then at Bai Xingxue, Li Si and the rest, and then suddenly laughed. You think my big brother is dead? You think? Isn't it? Bai Xingxue and the rest looked at Ing Zhenshuan mockingly. Chapter 2657. What was the All-Heaven Talisman? Qi Yao and the rest were confused, but one thing was certain. Li Xian seemed to be able to contact Ning Qi. Then, was Ning Qi really not dead? Whether it was Qi Yao, Nangong, or Murong, they all revealed a look of joy when they heard the news. If Ning Qi did not die, then the Xianjian sect would not be under the control of the Grand Luo, not even the prodigies of the Grand Luo. He has the All-Heaven Talisman? Bai Xingxue was slightly startled, then he seemed to have thought of something and looked at Li Xian angrily. It's you! The All-Heaven Talisman you gave him. You! Li Si's eyes moved slightly as he looked towards Bai Xingxue. Brother Bai, let's stop here today. Let's go first? He had already guessed that the place the tomb of the god of gods sent them to was the real world. The scene of Ning Qi injuring Jiang Yu with one arrow was still vivid in his mind. If Ning Qi did not die, Li Si felt that he and Bai Xingxue could start running for their lives. A gentleman does not stand under a collapsing wall. Li Si did not feel that there was anything shameful about it. Let's go. Bai Xingxue looked at Li Xian angrily and nodded unwillingly. Shi Yifan and the rest were stunned. They were leaving just like that? What about them? Senior Bai, Senior Li? Shi Yifan immediately cupped his hands, his face revealing a pleading expression. The group of Xianjian sect elders and disciples who supported him to sit on the position of sect master behind him all had a drastic change in expression, and a trace of panic appeared in their eyes. Qi Yao did not expect that just the news that Ning Qi was not dead would be able to scare Li Si and Bai Xingxue away. Continue to cultivate in the Xianjian sect. I will give you an answer in the future. Young Master Li and I still have some things to do, so we will be leaving first. Bai Xingxue nodded towards Shi Yifan. With that, the two of them were about to leave, but when the two of them reached the door, their bodies paused, and then everyone realized that they were retreating step by step. Very quickly they retreated to their original position, and in front of them, a figure appeared. Everyone present, seeing this, they all revealed expressions of shock or joy. Only a few people were terrified. It's Senior Ning. Big brother. The crowd was surprised and overjoyed. They did not expect Ning Qi to show up as soon as they mentioned him. Meanwhile, Shi Yifan and the others wore pale faces, as if their mothers had just passed away. Ning Qi smiled at the crowd, and indicated for Ing Zhenshuan to stand to the side. Then, he looked at Bai Xingxue and Li Si, and said with a smile, The two of you are really in a good mood today, to be so concerned about my Xianjian sex matters? Ning, brother Ning, there are some misunderstandings in this matter. Why don't you listen to my third junior apprentice sister's explanation? Bai Xingxue forced a smile on his face, then looked at Li Xian, signaling for her to say a few words. He was very familiar with Ning Qi's methods, so he didn't even have the slightest desire to fight. When the various peak masters, elders, and disciples of the Xianjian sect saw this scene, they immediately felt that their anger had been vented out. Just a moment ago they had been so aggressive, but now that they saw Ning Qi, they had become so terrified. Senior Ning, this group of people have ulterior motives. They want to overthrow the Xianjian sect, and that Shi Yifan, as well as the people who rebelled with him, are all not good people. It's best to kill them all. A voice rang out. Everyone looked at Luo Bo in shock. Luo Bo was startled. Am I right? It was more than right. With Luo Bo taking the lead, everyone started to condemn Bai Xingxue, Li Si and the others. Even Nangong and Murong said a few words. The faces of Shi Yifan and the others were as black as the earth. Even the true disciples like Nailan Shiji and He Zhe were trembling uncontrollably. They had a feeling that they would meet a miserable end this time. Li Xian did not speak up to defend Bai Xingxue, because what Bai Xingxue had done this time was too much. Not only did he interfere in the internal affairs of the Xianjian sect, he even wanted to help Ing Jinshuan marry Shi Yifan? This was clearly a blatant act of revenge. Then, which one of you are going to go first? Ning Qi laughed, and looked at Bai Xingxue and Li Si. Is he really planning to kill us? Bai Xingxue and Li Si looked at each other, and saw the fear in each other's eyes. Brother Ning, there's no need to take our lives for such a small matter, right? The original intention of young Master Li and I was also for the Xianjian sect. Shi Yifan is a talented person, and if he becomes the sect leader of the Xianjian sect, he will definitely lead the Xianjian sect to a higher level. If you are not willing, then forget it. Bai Xingxue laughed dryly. At the same time, Li Si's body moved slightly, and he fled out of the hall like lightning. Seeing this scene, Bai Xingxue could not help but curse in his heart. This kid's killing intent has already been aroused. Back then, he even dared to shoot at the Xian immortal. If we continue talking today, I'm afraid it will be futile. As long as we can escape the Xianjian sect and escape the ancestral star, I believe that with my speed, he won't be able to catch up. As Li Si thought about it, he frantically activated his cultivation. When he realized that he had already appeared outside the hall, he heaved a long sigh of relief. But right at this moment, Li Si suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. His expression instantly warped, and he revealed a terrified expression. He didn't even have the time to cry out for mercy when the back of his head had already been pierced by a sword, and a wound appeared between his brows. Fresh blood mixed with brain matter flowed out together with it. With a thud, his body fell heavily to the ground. The son of the profound Azure Mansion's mansion lord, a grand Luo prodigy, Li Si, was dead, and his soul was destroyed. Everyone stared blankly at Li Si's corpse. For many of them, it was the first time they saw Ning Qi killing a grand Luo with a sword at such a close distance. There was a hint of reverence in their eyes when they looked at Ning Qi. A perfected heavenly immortal had killed a grand Luo with a single sword strike. Such a shocking sword technique, they had never seen it before. In the blink of an eye, a grand Luo was dead. Bai Xingxue immediately reacted, and just as he was about to speak, another flash of sword light flashed. Bai Xingxue opened his mouth, and the vitality in his eyes gradually faded. A small wound appeared between his eyebrows, and his corpse fell heavily to the ground, following in Li Si's footsteps. Even in death, Bai Xingxue could not believe that he would die in a place like the ancestral star. The two Grand Luo only brought Ning Qi 200 merit points, and nothing else. The crowd behind Shi Yifan looked at the corpse on the ground, their eyes filled with fear. They looked at each other and knelt on the ground in unison, begging for mercy from Ning Qi and Qi Yao. At the same time, they looked at the peak lords and elders whom they were on good terms with, hoping that they would speak up for them. Good words. We were bewitched by Shi Yifan. We know we were wrong. Spare us, senior brother Ning. What are you doing? The sect master is dead. Is it wrong for me to take the sect master's seat as the #1 true legacy prodigy of the sect? Why are you kneeling? Chapter 2658. Beixian, you decide on what to do with this matter. Qi Yao looked at Ning Qi and said with a smile, "Get rid of the main culprit. As for the others, lock them up in the prison and face the wall for a while." Ning Qi smiled and said, "Get rid of the main culprit?" Everyone subconsciously looked at Shi Yifan. Although there was still some anger in their hearts, with Shi Yifan's talent, if they were to kill him, it would be a huge loss to the Xianjian sect. As for the others, they did not have any objections to it. Bei Xian, why don't you let Shi Yifan face the wall as a warning to others? Nan Gong said hesitantly. Shi Yifan did not expect Nan Gong to speak up for him. Although his face was filled with anger, a trace of hope flashed across his eyes. If he did not die today, even if he had to face the wall, he would still have a chance to rise up. Although senior brother Shi is at the great perfection of the sky immortal stage and has outstanding talent, he has joined forces with outsiders to force his own people to abdicate. This evil cannot be tolerated by the heavens, and his death is not worthy of pity. Elder Nan Gong, it is best if you do not persuade him anymore, and place your cultivation resources on someone else, and they might not be much worse than senior brother Shi. Do you still have me? Ning Qi smiled. Hearing that, Nan Gong sighed in his heart and stopped persuading. A few elders and peak masters who did not wish for Shi Yifan to die did not dare to speak up either. Ning Bei Xian, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Shi Yifan turned around, staring venomously at Ning Qi. In the next instant, Qi Yao acted, smashing Shi Yifan into dust with a single palm strike. After which, he turned to Nan Gong and the rest. Lock the rest of them up. Yes, sir. Nan Gong and Mu Rong glanced at the powder left behind by Shi Yifan's death, then nodded and walked in front of Nalan Shiji and the rest. Amongst the group of people who followed Shi Yifan to force the palace, there were also 2 golden immortal elders of the Xianjian sect. Right now, they did not dare to resist at all, and obediently left with the 2 of them. After everyone watched them leave, Qi Yao's gaze once again landed on Ning Qi with a complicated look in his eyes. Just then, Purple Bamboo Peak Master Zi suddenly said, The Xianjian sect cannot be without a leader for a day. I suggest that Bei Xian be the sect leader. Everyone looked at each other and expressed their agreement. Only a few people didn't agree, but at this moment they didn't dare to refute. Peak Master Zi must be joking. I'm just a disciple sweeping the floor. How can I assume the position of sect master? Ning Qi smiled and shook his head. Bei Xian, you're much stronger than Patriarch Xianjian now. Why can't you be the sect master? Zi was slightly taken aback. Everyone thought that Ning Qi was just going to politely reject the offer, and that he was going to take the position of the sect master after some pushing. In the end, they did not expect that Ning Qi was still unwilling to become the sect leader of the Xianjian sect. Only then did everyone know that Ning Qi was not being polite. Bei Xian, are you really not willing to help that old fellow Xianjian manage the Xianjian sect? Qi Yao said with a strange expression. Ning Qi smiled and said, Old ancestor Qi Yao, did old ancestor Xianjian leave any words behind? It seems like he has calculated everything. Qi Yao sighed. He clearly knew that he wouldn't be able to walk out of the divine tomb this time, so why did he still want to enter? He couldn't understand. That's right. Qi Yao nodded. Before Xianjian entered the divine tomb, he told me that if he didn't return this time, he would let Jinshuan take the position of sect master. Me? Jinshuan was stunned for a moment as a trace of disbelief appeared in her eyes. Everyone sucked in a cold breath as they looked at old ancestor Qi Yao in disbelief, as if they wanted to tell if he was lying or not from his expression. Why would old ancestor Xianjian let an earth immortal be the sect master of the Xianjian sect? I'm in favor of Jinshuan taking the position of sect master. Ning Qi smiled and nodded. Then it's decided. Old ancestor Qi Yao smiled. Everyone had a strange expression. Even though most of them didn't agree, seeing that Ning Qi and Qi Yao had both nodded, they could only agree that the Xianjian sect would be taken over by an earth immortal. At this moment, Jinshuan shook her head and smiled bitterly. Big brother, old ancestor Qi Yao, I'm just an earth immortal. How can I manage such a huge Xianjian sect? The position of sect master is not a child's play. I think it's better for someone else to take over. Old ancestor Qi Yao smiled. These words were left behind by Xianjian himself. Since he asked you to take over the position of Xianjian sect master, he must have his own considerations. You don't have to worry about that. Pausing for a moment. The new sect master naturally has to send out invitations. Other than the sects in Yingzhou, the other sects that have a good relationship with our Xianjian sect can also be invited. As for the Yuqing sect, Qi Yao looked at Ning Qi. Beixian, I'll have to trouble you to make a trip. I wonder when old ancestor Qi Yao plans to set it? Ning Qi smiled. Half a year later. That way the journey will be just right. Qi Yao said. Half a year should be enough for him to transcend the tribulation and become a golden immortal. Seeing this, Ning Qi nodded in agreement. After this matter was confirmed, Ning Qi and Ing Zhenxuan returned to the Missing Moon Peak, and the other peak masters also dispersed. Missing Moon Peak. Big brother, the moment Ing Zhenxuan returned to the Missing Moon Peak, she looked at Ning Qi with a troubled expression. She still did not want to become the sect master of Xianjian sect. In her opinion, only Ning Qi was suitable for this position. Zhenxuan, since old ancestor Xianjian left behind words for you to take the position of sect master, he must have his reasons. You don't have to worry about anything else. As for cultivation, I think with your talent, becoming a grand luo in the future won't be a problem. Ning Qi's gaze swept past the purple jade on Ing Zhenxuan's forehead and smiled. That's right. Li Xian nodded in agreement. Becoming a grand luo? Wouldn't that be even more powerful than my father? Ing Zhenxuan was startled, then smiled bitterly. Haven't you heard of the saying that the new generation excels the old? Ning Qi smiled. Which river is the Yangtze River? Ing Zhenxuan said. A strange smile appeared on Li Xian's face. She glanced at Ning Qi, then said to Ing Zhenxuan, If there's a chance in the future, I'll take you to see the Yangtze River. After chatting for a while, Ing Zhenxuan's mood gradually calmed down. After Ning Qi and Li Xian's persuasion, she no longer resisted the position of sect master. Instead, she was already thinking about what she should do after becoming the sect master of Xianjian sect in order to obtain benefits for all the cultivators of Xianjian sect. I have a premonition that I'm about to undergo tribulation to advance. Which mountain in Xianjian sect is suitable to undergo tribulation? Ning Qi said. What? Ing Zhenxuan was slightly surprised, then looked at Ning Qi happily. Big brother, you're going to advance to Golden Immortal? Li Xian was also a little surprised, and at the same time, she was shocked by Ning Qi's cultivation speed. When she first arrived at Ancestral Star, Ning Qi's cultivation was only at the Earth Immortal Great Perfection, but in a short period of time, he had advanced to the Sky Immortal Great Perfection, and now he was going to undergo tribulation to become a Golden Immortal. This kind of talent was truly monstrous. Yes. Ning Qi smiled and nodded. Chapter 2659. When Ning Qi headed towards the Thunder Tribulation Mountain, only then did the disciples of the Xianjian sect know that Ning Qi was still alive and had even returned to the Xianjian sect. Before this, they all thought that Ning Qi was the same as the mysterious sword old man, unable to walk out of the divine tomb alive. The inner disciples and even the disciples who were sweeping the floor were all cheering and dancing. Although the old man of mysterious sword was unable to walk out of the divine tomb, at the very least, as long as Ning Qi was still here, their Xianjian sect would not be bullied by their enemies. Is that senior apprentice brother Ning? Near the Thunder Tribulation Mountain, Bai Shijiang and the other inner sect disciples looked at Ning Qi in shock. When they saw Ing Zhenprofound and Li Xian following behind Ning Qi, they were already somewhat certain in their hearts. Senior apprentice brother Ning did not die. If this news were to spread out, I think many of the academies would be very disappointed, right? Bai Shijiang laughed. Not bad. Everyone nodded. Then, someone asked suspiciously, why did senior brother Ning go to the Thunder Tribulation Summit? Don't tell me he's going through a tribulation? What kind of joke is this? Only those who advance to the golden immortal realm have to undergo tribulation. Didn't senior brother Ning just advance to the perfected heavenly immortal realm not long ago? Someone questioned. Bai Shijiang looked at the backs of Ning Qi and the other two. Have you forgotten that when senior brother Ning first came to our Xianjian sect, he was only at the early stage of the worldly immortal stage? Now that only 200 years have passed, he is already at the great circle of the sky immortal stage. What's so strange about advancing to the golden immortal stage? When everyone heard this, they seemed to feel that Bai Shijiang's words were very reasonable. Then, they became excited again. If Ning Qi advanced to the golden immortal realm, how terrifying would his combat strength be? To the Xianjian sect, this was simply good news. The news quickly spread out, and one figure after another rushed towards the Thunder Tribulation Summit. After Nan Gong and Mu Rong locked the people who followed Shi Yifan to force the palace into prison, they also heard the news and came over. Not long after, almost all of the higher-ups of the Xianjian sect, led by old ancestor Qi Yao, had arrived. However, they didn't go to the Mount of Trials of Thunder. During the God's retribution, if external forces are involved, it will cause the God's retribution to change. When that happens, not only will the person undergoing the God's retribution suffer, but the cultivators nearby will also be affected. Zhen Xian, is your big brother going to undergo lightning tribulation? Qi Yao asked Ing Zhenxuan. The two girls were also standing at the foot of the lightning tribulation summit. Ing Zhenxuan smiled and nodded. Yes. The crowd took a deep breath, as the elders and peak leaders exchanged glances with one another. They could see the disbelief in each other's eyes. Ning Beishuan's combat strength is so terrifying that he could kill a Grand Luo with a single slash. Not only that, but his cultivation speed is also so fast. Wouldn't he be able to attain the fruit of Tao and become a Grand Luo in a few hundred years if this continues? The peak master of Golden Sun Peak, Yi Tian, looked at the Tribulation Thunder Peak with a complicated expression. When Ning Qi first arrived at the Xianjian sect, he was only at the early stage of the worldly immortal stage, while he was already a celestial immortal. Now, the other party was about to undergo tribulation to advance to the golden immortal stage, but his cultivation was still stuck at the same level as it was 200 years ago. In comparison, it was hard to avoid feeling dejected. He's about to reach the gold immortal stage. Nangong and Murong looked at each other and sighed. However, they were still overjoyed in their hearts. Jiang Kuan was nowhere to be found, and Yi Rulong was nowhere to be found. There were also two golden immortals who were locked up and facing the wall. Currently, there were only two golden immortals left in the Xianjian sect. Although Ning Qi's combat strength was shocking, he was only a celestial immortal. Once he advanced to the golden immortal stage, it would be extremely beneficial for the Xianjian sect. The prodigies of the various peaks looked at the lightning tribulation summit with complicated expressions, especially Li Changtong, Yan Feiwu, Yang Xiaolong, Jiu Jian and the other prodigies. They basically did not participate in Shi Yifan's coercion. Even though He Zhe had personally hinted to them, they pretended not to know. Now that they thought about it, it was really scary. Although the prodigies of the inner sect who were persuaded were not killed on the spot, facing the wall for an ancient time was no different than death. Celestial immortals could only live for an ancient time. If they did not break through to the celestial immortal stage while facing the wall, they could only be imprisoned until they died. At the peak of the Lightning Tribulation Summit, Ning Qi realized that the Lightning Tribulation Summit had indeed been washed by the Lightning Tribulation many times. There was almost no vegetation on it, and the ground was filled with holes and traces left behind by the Lightning Tribulation. System, I want to advance, Ning Qi said indifferently. He had already realized that the demon ancestor's heart had been marked by the system as a quest item. Therefore, when he held the demon ancestor's heart, he was not attacked by the power of the demon ancestor's heart like Jian Shi. Ning Qi suspected that as long as he successfully passed the tribulation and advanced to the early golden immortal stage, the demon ancestor's heart would become the same as before. At that time, if he could find a way to absorb the power inside without having his consciousness taken away, the demon ancestor's heart would at least be able to help his demonic cultivation reach the peak of the second step, and even have the chance to step into the third step. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The clear sky suddenly changed, and a faint golden cloud condensed above the thunder tribulation summit. These clouds continuously rolled like ocean waves, and not only could the people of the Mystic Sword sect see it clearly, almost all the immortals in the entire Yingzhou could see this cloud that had suddenly condensed. Golden Tribulation Cloud. Wind and Cloud Sect. This is a tribulation cloud. Someone has advanced to the golden immortal stage? That direction seems to be the Xianjian sect. Quick, let's go take a look. Master, shall we go as well? Bei Xiao and Bei Meng looked at Ling Yuan expectantly. Ling Yuan looked in the direction of the Xianjian sect with a complicated expression, then nodded and said, "Let's go." The remaining Xianyang sect, Four Directions sect, Honesty sect, Mountain Destruction sect, and the second-rate sects in the Yingzhou were all shaken by the sudden rise of the tribulation cloud. Especially when they realized that the direction of the tribulation cloud was towards the Xianjian sect. Many figures soared into the sky and flew towards the Xianjian sect. They really wanted to know who was going to undergo the lightning tribulation and become a golden immortal. Ning Qi looked up at the golden tribulation cloud in the sky, and his expression became serious. He could feel that there was an extremely terrifying power hidden within the tribulation cloud. Oh no, the aura of this tribulation cloud is too terrifying. It's even scarier than the tribulation cloud from the Zenith Heaven immortal stage. Have you offended the heavenly Tao? The little gourd suddenly flew out of Ning Qi's sea of consciousness, rolled on the ground, and turned into a big fat baby, looking at the sky above his head in shock. Maybe. Ning Qi smiled. The tribulation cloud was still brewing, and no one knew when it would descend. Chapter 2660. Li Xian looked at the gourd strangely. Sister Li Xian, is this a demon pet that Big Brother took in? Yingzhen was curious. The gourd's ears seemed to be sharp. It immediately turned around and made a face at Yingzhen. I'm not a demon pet. Yingzhen was amused. She walked to the gourd's side and smiled. If you're not a demon pet, what are you? A shape-shifting immortal beast? Neither. The gourd glanced at Yingzhen arrogantly, then kept quiet. It looked at the golden tribulation clouds with a solemn expression. Yingzhen found it interesting. However, the golden tribulation clouds seemed to be almost ready. Yingzhen was worried about Ning Qi and stopped talking to the gourd. Master, how powerful do you think the lightning tribulation of a sky immortal will be? A Xianjian sect disciple beside Nangong asked curiously. Many of the inner sect disciples pricked up their ears. They had some understanding of lightning tribulations, but not much. After all, only when they became a sky immortal would they truly understand how terrifying the lightning tribulation of the heavenly Tao was when they advanced to golden immortal. This is also determined by an immortal's talent. The higher the talent, the stronger the lightning tribulation. The lightning tribulation that descends from a celestial immortal to a golden immortal is called the immortal bone tribulation. When you first enter the human immortal stage, your body will circulate immortal spiritual energy. This is a power that only immortals have. From human immortal to sky immortal, there are many differences, but when you reach golden immortal, it will be different. Nangong smiled and said slowly as he looked at the golden tribulation clouds. Many Xianjian sect disciples gathered over. The outer sect disciples, and even the sweeping disciples, didn't usually hear about this. They were curious. Qi Yao's voice sounded slowly. When you reach the perfected sky immortal stage, and pass the immortal bone tribulation, all your bones will become immortal bones. This lightning tribulation can change a person's root bone and increase their talent. If you can become a golden immortal, you will have a chance of attaining Tao fruit and becoming a zenith heaven. Change root bone. Increase talent? This was the first time many of the outer court disciples and sweeping disciples had heard of this, and their faces immediately revealed a hint of surprise. Before this, they had thought that a person's aptitude could only be changed by consuming extremely rare pills and spirit fruits, or by obtaining some special opportunity. Every one of these conditions was extremely difficult. There were very few immortals who could consume those pills and spirit fruits. Unexpectedly, as long as he reached the perfected sky immortal realm and successfully transcended the lightning tribulation to become a golden immortal, he would have another chance to upgrade his bone frame. This was an extremely important thing for an immortal. With a good root bone, cultivation would be much easier and simpler. The higher one's constitution and ability to comprehend, the greater the improvement one will receive after overcoming the heavenly tribulation. Similarly, the immortal bone tribulation they face will be even more terrifying. The heavenly Tao will only send down one immortal bone tribulation for the perfected heavenly immortal with the lowest aptitude, but 12 immortal bone tribulations will descend on those with the highest aptitude. Legend has it that when Jiang Wei became a golden immortal, he faced 9 immortal bone tribulations. After that, each additional thunder tribulation brought him to a whole new level. The current number 1 on the golden immortal list, Wei Gongqi, faced 12 immortal bone tribulations when he became a golden immortal. Old ancestor Qi Yao smiled. Although his voice was not loud, all the Xianjian sect disciples present could hear it clearly, and they could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. This lightning tribulation has yet to descend, and I already feel that it's hard to breathe. To be able to pass through 12 immortal bone tribulations, how strong must he be? No wonder he was ranked number 1 on the golden immortal list by the heavenly Tao. I wonder how many immortal bone tribulations senior brother Ning will encounter this time. I remember that when he first entered the Xianjian sect, the profound sword tablet seemed to have determined that his aptitude was weak white light. Aptitude will change. Even if senior brother Ning's aptitude was very low back then, it must be extremely high now. Otherwise, how could he become a perfected sky immortal in such a short period of time? Perhaps we just need to count how many immortal bone tribulations there are to know. After old ancestor Qi Yao's explanation, all the Xianjian sect disciples present revealed curious looks as they looked at the peak of the lightning tribulation summit with some anticipation. In the distance, Zhao Tong looked at the thunder tribulation pinnacle expressionlessly. Ever since his cultivation was destroyed by Ning Qi, he began to cultivate again and had the cultivation of the golden core stage. Such a cultivation was at the bottom even among the sweeping disciples. The weakest sweeping disciple was at least at the form synthesis stage. Even the tribulation stage. I want to see just how talented you are. A trace of resentment flashed across Zhao Tong's eyes. He was not willing. He clearly had brilliant gold aptitude and was accepted as a personal disciple by Old Man Mysterious Sword. However, his cultivation path was so bumpy. Not only did he not become an earth immortal, but he could not even maintain his human immortal cultivation. Now, Old Man Mysterious Sword's fate was unknown. If he wanted to return to the early human immortal stage, the road was too long. If not for the many meridian recovery pills he had obtained from the Pill Mountain, he would not even have the cultivation of the Aurus core stage. It could be said that not only had Ning Qi destroyed his cultivation, he had also destroyed his future. His current cultivation aptitude was many times worse than before. In such a situation, the most direct result was that even Heizei looked down on him recently. Originally, he thought that some of the successor disciples who were very amiable would at most nod their heads when they saw him, and most of them pretended not to see him. For example, when Shi Yifan wanted to force the palace, he did not inform him. This time, he had dodged a calamity. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The tribulation cloud once again let out a rumbling sound as golden lightning continuously flashed within. Hearing this rumbling sound, everyone's expression became serious, their eyes filled with anticipation, because they had a premonition that the immortal bone tribulation was about to descend. Ning Qi looked at the golden tribulation cloud indifferently. Only he and the little gourd could discover that the golden tribulation cloud had been specially processed by the heavenly Tao, and its power was extraordinary. Perhaps the heavenly Tao already knew that his physical body far surpassed that of ordinary people, which was why it looked at him in a different light. However, come, let's see if you can kill me. Ning Qi's lips curled up. At this moment, the tribulation cloud seemed to have sensed Ning Qi's provocation. With a loud rumble, a thick golden lightning struck towards Ning Qi. Chapter 26:61. The power of the first lightning tribulation was equivalent to an early-stage golden immortal's full-powered strike. An ordinary perfected sky immortal would have been kneeling by now, but Ning Qi was able to divert his attention to check his bones while channeling his confining dragon-elephant art to absorb the power of the lightning tribulation. This lightning tribulation seems to have a lot of benefits, Ning Qi murmured to himself. His confining dragon-elephant art had already reached the 12th heavenly layer. Although he had broken through from early-stage human immortal to perfected sky immortal in the 200 years since he came to the world of immortals, he had only pushed the art to the peak of the 12th heavenly layer. There was still a long way to go before he could reach the 13th heavenly layer. The power of this immortal bone tribulation wasn't too strong for Ning Qi, but it greatly enhanced his confining dragon-elephant art. Apart from that, Ning Qi's bones were also transforming into immortal jade bones. To others, the immortal bone tribulation was akin to the gates of hell, but to Ning Qi it was like an elixir. Not only could it increase his cultivation and physical strength, but it could also improve his potential. After the first lightning tribulation, the golden tribulation clouds once again entered a state of preparation. A loud rumble shook the pebbles on the ground. Most of the crowd breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that Ning Qi seemed to have easily blocked the first immortal bone tribulation. Only those who had a grudge against Ning Qi were looking forward to seeing him struck to death by the immortal bone tribulation. The power of this immortal bone tribulation is a little strange. Forefather Qi Yao frowned slightly. He had sensed something amiss from the aura of the lightning tribulation, but he couldn't be too sure. He was the only zenith heavenly immortal here, and he couldn't find someone to talk to see if his feeling was right. Li Xian smiled when she saw Ing Zhenxuan sweating nervously. Don't worry. With Beishuan's strength, it would be strange if he couldn't overcome the immortal bone tribulation. Big sister Li Xian, I have confidence in Big Brother, but the heavenly Tao is unpredictable. Who knows if it will increase the intensity of the lightning tribulation because of Big Brother's monstrous potential? Ing Zhenxuan smiled bitterly. Little Gourd, who was standing not far from her, smirked when it heard this. It glanced at Ing Zhenxuan disdainfully and said, "It has already increased." "It has already increased?" Ing Zhenxuan was slightly taken aback. She hurriedly asked a few more questions, but the little gourd put on an inscrutable expression and did not say a word. It only looked at the golden tribulation clouds in the sky. 2 hours later. Old ancestor Qi Yao finally frowned. Strange, it has already been 2 hours. Why hasn't the second immortal bone tribulation descended yet? Nangong and Murong looked at each other solemnly. When the two of them underwent their heavenly tribulations, there were a total of 4 immortal bone tribulations. The interval between each tribulation was only the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. Everyone held their breaths and waited for the second tribulation of the immortal bone to descend. But the longer it went on, the stranger their expressions became. Hours passed, and the golden tribulation clouds were still brewing with no intention of descending. Very soon, a day had passed. Senior brother Ning's immortal bone tribulation wouldn't be the only one, right? Someone finally could not hold it in any longer, and said with a strange expression. Even though the nearby people didn't speak out in agreement when they heard this, yet their thoughts were obviously similar to the other party. They'd experienced numerous types of heavenly tribulations before they'd attained the human immortal realm, yet they'd never seen a type of heavenly tribulation that didn't descend for an entire day. From afar, Zhao Tong's eyes revealed a hint of mockery as he stared at the figure on the lightning tribulation summit. It seems like your talent is only SOSO. Boom. Just as Zhao Tong had this thought, a deafening explosion came from the golden tribulation clouds, and the second lightning tribulation landed on Ning Qi's body. The rocks around Ning Qi were turned into dust by the aftermath of the lightning tribulation. With him at the center, a huge pit appeared on the lightning tribulation summit. The terrifying power of the lightning tribulation surged into Ning Qi's body. Ning Qi continuously circulated the confining dragon-elephant technique, absorbing the power of the lightning tribulation for his own use. The parts of his body that had been damaged by the thunder tribulation, at the same time, the trace of gold on his bones became a bit heavier. The power of the lightning tribulation was extremely terrifying, but Ning Qi still did not open the 9 inner hidden gates, and forcefully endured it. With Ning Qi's current cultivation, even though the second immortal bone tribulation was extremely destructive, it did not pose much of a threat to him. The second immortal bone tribulation has finally descended. Senior brother Ning doesn't seem to be affected at all. This method is truly admirable. I've seen someone undergo this tribulation before. The second immortal bone tribulation turned him into charcoal, and he failed. Is this the difference between senior brother Ning and ordinary celestial immortals? Someone exclaimed. After seeing the second immortal bone tribulation, many people who doubted Ning Qi's talent immediately shut their mouths, but they could not get rid of the doubts in their hearts. After all, the time between the 2 immortal bone tribulations was too long, so long that it had exceeded their common sense. As I thought. After the second immortal bone tribulation descended, old ancestor Qi Yao was finally sure that the immortal bone tribulation that Ning Qi had encountered this time was not ordinary, because the aura of the immortal bone tribulation was something he would never forget for the rest of his life. Back when he was breaking through from the heavenly immortal realm to the golden immortal realm, the aura of the 6th immortal bone tribulation was exactly the same. At that time, he had nearly died. If it wasn't for the fact that his talent was limited and the immortal bone tribulation only consisted of 6 immortal bone tribulations, he would no longer exist in this world. Later on, the Ascension sect's sect master personally took action and mobilized a lot of the sect's resources to heal his injuries. It took 100 years. This child's second immortal bone tribulation is equivalent to the 6th immortal bone tribulation that I encountered back then. Just how terrifying is his talent? Even the heavenly law is jealous of him? Old ancestor Qi Yao looked at Ning Qi in astonishment. What shocked him even more was the fact that Ning Qi did not seem to have suffered any injuries after undergoing the immortal bone tribulation. From this, it could be seen that when he was still a heavenly immortal, his abilities were far inferior to Ning Qi's. If he can successfully undergo the immortal bone tribulation, he will have no problem obtaining the fruit of Tao in the future. It won't be difficult for him to become a profound immortal either. This guy is qualified to become a Tai true immortal. As for immortal monarchs, old ancestor Qi Yao did not even dare to think about them. After all, how many immortal monarchs were there in this world? He believed that Ning Qi being able to become a Tai true immortal was already an extremely high opinion of him. Following that, the golden tribulation cloud began to gather energy again. As for Ning Qi, he continued to absorb the power of the second immortal bone tribulation to strengthen himself. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.